Call the meeting to order. This is the Finance Committee meeting, and it is 6:02. Today is March 9th, and in attendance right now is Gage Spanknable, myself, Amy Fiden, Pam Haig, and Harry Vandalowski. We are expecting Peter Machusko and Paul McCretsky to be coming in pretty soon, but they're a little bit behind. So we can go ahead, and today our for business, we're gonna the minutes to start with. I'm going to ask just to pass by them because they weren't ready for us yet. They weren't prepared for the last meeting, and then so the next order of business is we're going to be going over the schools. So we are meeting department heads in the schools are the first ones up.
I am very, very grateful. So I think everybody here knows me, but I'm Annie McKenzie. If you don't, I shouldn't assume that. I'm Annie McKenzie. I'm the superintendent of schools. Really grateful to be an employee in your town. Grateful to work here, and I think this is my 13th year in the district.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, because my species usually dies off around year 3 to 5, so that is really impressive, meaning the school superintendent. What I've handed out for you, the first packet I handed out is something that I won't necessarily go over page by page, because I think many of you saw it, and I do have one extra one here. Let me just hand this to the folks in the back. This was, thank you so much. Of course, and that's also publicly available on the school committee agenda for February 23rd, and you can see the presentation. So I think many of you watched it after the fact, or maybe you saw it when we originally gave it. So on this presentation that the community has seen, I'll just hit some of the high notes and then walk you through the first draft of the budget book. And I do want to underscore that when you're looking at the budget booklet, I'm sorry I don't have an extra one, but when you're looking at the budget booklet, there's a reason there's draft all over it, and also FinCon, you are seeing it before the school committee. I did get, the chair said that was fine, so it's very much the full budget. You're the first committee to see it. So let's just walk through some of the high points on the presentation that I gave, that investing for impact that Chris and I presented to the school committee and to the public. And really the message that I hope folks walk away with is we are demonstrating, I believe, fiscal responsibility, and I have data that I think makes that case. And that while we're still demonstrating fiscal responsibility, we're expanding opportunities for students, and as a result of that, we're delivering some pretty impressive results in the county. And also, not only is this beneficial for our town and our students, for our students, it's beneficial for the town. And there's one infographic that really illustrates that quite well. So I put page numbers in this presentation by hand. Some of the data are a little redundant between the two places, but again, I'll just walk you through the big ticket items. Hi, Paul, how are you?
Sorry, I'm a little late.
Don't worry about it. We're just talking first about this presentation, the paper copy of the presentation of the budget that Chris and I did on February 23rd. So on hand printed number 3 there, page 3, what you're looking at there is the school department total budget on the left, and local contributions, so the portion of that total budget that the town pays. And as you can see from fiscal year 21, because we do the change between the increase between 21 and 20, from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 27, we're looking at an average increase during that time period of just under 3% year over year. In local contribution, particularly given the fact that we are looking at a significant decrease in fiscal year 27, that year over year is actually a negative. So you can see in fiscal year 21, this local contribution increased by 1.69. I also want to point out to you that that increase does not take into consideration the funds that were returned to the town. So in fiscal year 21, the school department returned just over $300,000 to the town. in fiscal year 22, 23 or 24,000, in 23, 42,000. A big reason for that massive return, if you recall, there was a lot of COVID funding that came out at that time, and schools and other public departments benefited greatly from some of that COVID funding. We were keenly aware of how much support the town gave us during that time period, and that there were other departments that were working equally hard as our department, and we certainly felt obligated to return as much funds as we could. But if you look at Bureau of Labor Statistics, CPI, and you look at average year-over-year inflation during a similar time period, so average year-over-year inflation during that time period is about, 1.63, I think, during that time, or I'm sorry, 4.1. 4.1 is the average inflation increase. But you can see that the average school budget increase was under 3%. Again, these are year-over-year averages. Of course, if you look at the increase, if you're just looking at local contribution, it's far less. So what that demonstrates is that while our costs, several costs, have kept pace with inflation, particularly when you look at energy and other costs, the school department budget, I would argue, has been fiscally responsible. If you look at number 5 in this packet, because people, I think it's important that townspeople, before they part with a single tax dollar, ask as many questions as they possibly can. So, I don't know, it seems like schools are pretty expensive. Are we paying more than the people around us? And as you can see, as a share of the total budget in town, you can see beginning in fiscal year 18, and this is number 5, page 5, in fiscal year 18, the school department represented 44% of total town expenditures, and in fiscal year 25, that's decreased to 34%. So we aren't representing an increasing share of the budget, but rather a decreasing share of the budget. And if you look at the next page and say, well, I don't know, does that seem average? It's actually the lowest around. So you can see a percent, this is education expenses as a percent of total town expenses. You see Amherst and Belchertown are over 50%, Hatfield is 50%, and Hadley is the lowest at 34%. As I said before, we believe it's our responsibility to be fiscally responsible. Taxpayers have a lot of things that they need to invest in public safety, in schools, in their sewers, and in all kinds of things. So we want to be fiscally responsible. We also want to deliver what we call return on investment to the taxpayer. So some of the ways that we do that are by designing programs, and despite the fact that our budget increases, I would argue, have been modest, very modest, I would argue, we pursue grant funding with a vengeance, and as a direct consequence of that, we've been able to establish 6. We're the only district in Hampshire County that has all 6 state-designated innovation career pathways. These are opportunities for students to participate in internships, to learn very specific content related to an industry or occupational sector. We also have 2 district-developed pathways, education and public safety. Paige participated in our public safety pathway. Those students also do internships and have career immersion experiences. We're the only school in Hampshire County that has its own early college high school designation. We were able to expand all these programming opportunities through the pursuit of grants without having to ask the town to contribute more of an investment. We also are something called a Project Lead the Way school. It's on page 8 here, is a short summary of that. Project Lead the Way provides STEM-focused coursework in engineering, biomedical science, computer sciences. We have a launch program at Hadley Elementary. Hadley Elementary has been recognized as a school of distinction in Project Lead the Way for 3 years. One of our elementary teachers last year, a Project Lead the Way teacher, was one of 8 teachers recognized nationally as an exceptional Project Lead the Way teacher. And so these investments pay off. As you can see on page 9, our advanced coursework completion, and some people might say, how much does that matter? Well, advanced coursework matters a lot when you look at post-secondary outcomes, when you look at earnings over a student's lifetime. their post-secondary opportunities, even if they go straight into the workforce. So you can see that Hadley, again this year and did last year, leads the county in the percentage of students completing advanced coursework. Our students who complete early college, that equates to about $9,000 in savings when you look at UMass in-state tuition. So that's essentially because they graduate with 12 college credits. They don't have to pay anything for that. And also I pointed out in this slide that we offer the seal of biliteracy. And so what that means is that we provide opportunities for students to test in any language other than English. If they test at a proficiency level, the minimum proficiency level, which is moderate to like higher intermediate to advanced speaker, they test at that level and they achieve a minimum of meeting expectations on the English MCAS, they can receive a seal of biliteracy. And that also at UMass Amherst will give them 12 college credits if they get the seal of biliteracy. If they get it with distinction, UMass will give them 18 college credits. So if a student were to get a seal with distinction and go through our early college program, they've essentially walked into college with 30 college credits that their parents didn't have to pay a dime for the student. You can see also we lead the county in grads attending higher education. And on the next page, this makes me really happy. I track this. So you're looking at on page 11, what our graduates are earning. And I have more detailed data for you in the budget book. So I look at, you see year of graduation along the x-axis along the bottom, and rankings, and you'll have detailed data by actual school in your budget book. But I look at for each year of graduation, how did we rank, how did our graduates rank in earnings, in average earnings in 2023. These are all publicly available data. And while this is happening, I think as a direct result of some of these investments, you can see that our choice numbers coming in are going up, and students leaving is decreasing. And this is really important to the town because choice out tuitions are paid on the town side. That's not a local policy, that's a state law. School choice starts going out, it shows up on your cherry sheet on the assessment side, town responsibility. Charter tuitions, also town responsibility, show up on the cherry sheet. And you can see on number 13 that our charter enrollments also have fluctuated somewhat but have come down. You can see in FY22 there were 49 students attending charter schools, and in FY26 that number is down to 41. So overall on page 14, student enrollment and departure trends, I always remind people that there's one way in. It's called through school choice, so going from one public school district and coming to our district. And there's 3 ways out. There's vocational, there's charter, and there's choice. So you can see back in fiscal year 19, 94 students were coming to the district through school choice and 141 were exiting. And in fiscal year 26, 146 are coming in and 97 are exiting. So we've completely turned that around. And why is this so important to the town? The infographic on page 15 really shows what happens when we don't pay attention to what's going on in schools. So what I did, and again, all publicly available data, is I looked at all of the districts around us, and I said, and I zeroed in on South Hadley in this case because there are some similarities in terms of both communities have a charter school within its geographic boundaries, and they have a charter school in the neighboring community, right? So we mirror each other. And so what I looked at was school choice sending. How much was the town spending on school choice sending tuition? How much was the town spending on charter tuition? Net charter tuition means I took into consideration that the town also gets some charter aid from the state. And then I did the same for South Hadley. And when I compared fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 26, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I historically looked at 5 years and I compared, Hadley had a decrease in net choice charter outflow of just almost $101,000. South Hadley had an increase in that same time of $931,000. That's not the totally what, this year alone, it's 3 million on their cherry sheets out. But that's just their increase over that time period. Hadley was the only community in Hampshire County that had a net decrease between FY22 and FY26. And this is, as much as it sounds like I'm bragging about the students and I'm bragging about teachers. Let me say all the time, nobody says, you know why I want to go to that district? Have you heard about that superintendent? Said no kid ever. Said no kid ever. And nobody asked the child, hey, what district do you go to? They go to schools. And teachers matter, and their peers matter, so our high-performing students attract other students. So their teachers and their principals matter. And I feel they're doing great work, but I feel it's our obligation to the town. I track that very closely because the town has been very generous historically to the schools, and I believe we owe it to the town to demonstrate year over year a return on investment. Taxpayers aren't getting that return on investment. They should ask a whole lot of questions. I am going to stop with this and take you into the budget book now, because that will have those numbers more. That was just an overview and review of the presentation that we gave on the 23rd. And again, our public hearing of the budget for the school committee will be at the end of April. So they haven't seen this yet, and this is still subject to change. And I'll tell you why it's subject to change. So I'm going to call your attention. I'm not going to go page by page. I'm going to call your attention to some more detailed data and then where we stand right now. So if you look at page 2, that's an overview of revenues. And I'll point out to you what's really affecting our revenues. Now, obviously, local contribution. What is being proposed is a decrease of over 8% in local contribution, or a decrease of $640,000. Now, keep in mind, in this year, originally that fiscal year 26 column was at 7.9, but then in the fall, the school department returned $200,000 to the town. And I know all departments made cuts, so that didn't make us unique, but I'm also aware that frequently when you've been looking at slides, it's focused on the reductions in force on the town side. The school department did return $200,000 in the fall to the town. And that brought us down to the 7.8 million in FY26. And then you see proposed for FY27 would be that decrease of $640,000. I believe that the primary drivers in escalating expenses on the town side is health insurance. And that $640,000 wasn't arbitrary. It's not because Linda woke up one day and said, boy, those schools really bug me. Let's take $640,000 from them. It was because the total increase in health insurance expenditures was astronomical, as you well know. And the school department represents the majority of the employees, and so they apportioned that increase to 40% to all town departments, 60% to the schools. But again, I will say, hey, Peter, welcome.
Hello there.
Those are for you. And we are on page 2 of this right here.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. And so that's where there's a rationale for the proposed decrease. In the absence of any new revenues, it's clear you can't grow money on trees, so those adjustments would need to be made. Some other things that have changed. On the circuit breaker line, circuit breaker, and there's some explanations below of what these revenues, where they come from. But sometimes the punishment for doing your job well, which is keeping children in district, means that the aid, circuit breaker is something the state gives us when a tuition for a student going to an approved special education school out of district, when that tuition exceeds a certain threshold, let's say roughly around $60,000, the state gives a percentage back to us for every dollar over that threshold that we spend. So for every dollar over $60,000, they might give us 70 cents. It's subject to appropriation annually, and it changes annually.
How many have we had over the 60,000?
How many?
I guess students or
No, yeah, so
or
I'm sorry, I didn't
applications
say
to that when
well.
they're saying over the 60,000 that we get money back from the state or whoever it is.
Right, so it's done by each individual student.
Okay.
So in the budget, I have student names, right, in my sheet. I have student names, I have the schools they're going to, how much that tuition is. If that tuition is over $60,000, then the legislature says, okay, this year, we are saying we're going to give you 70% of every dollar over 60,000. So now the total number of students who have circuit breaker, I'd have to look at FY27. I can pull it up for you. I just want to make sure I don't pull it up anywhere on camera because their names are on it, but I could tell you it's a small, the reason it's gone down so much is because there's fewer students, right? So you would get more aid, that's why that revenue goes down. So on the one hand, I would argue, as frustrating as it is, we would rather get less circuit breaker because they pay you on the ceiling, not the floor, right? You don't get any reimbursement until you've already paid a significant tuition. But that's why that amount of money has gone down so much. Rural aid, this is something I've strongly recommended if people are interested to advocate the governor to fully fund rural aid. That would help a lot of communities. Had it been fully funded in fiscal year 26, Hadley would have received $318,000. Instead, it was not only was it not fully funded, but then they cut it after the year started. So we initially, when we budgeted, assumed we'd be getting the same as fiscal year 25, and then that was cut, and so we had to make a reduction in fiscal year 26, and we're hoping that it stays the same for fiscal year 27. The 240 grant is a federal grant that comes, and that's connected to students with special needs and students who have IEPs. And school choice, you can see we're applying more school choice to the budget, almost $2 million in fiscal year 27. We are assuming that our pre-K, our preschool revenues will stay steady. And we're assuming that 262 is a federal grant for preschool age children who have special needs. We're assuming that will stay steady. One thing we were told just today, so it's not reflected here, is you see on the title grants, so it shows 88,000, essentially 017 on the title grants. We were told that we should expect at best that it will be 85% of what we got. So that will be reduced by about $13,000. So even with applying about $2 million of school choice, we're looking at roughly a $750,000 deficit. And so on page 3, you've already seen that chart at the top. But school choice, so you have a snapshot at the bottom of our school choice, our projections. That's our projected ending balance in school choice. We've budgeted roughly $1.7 million to use in our current fiscal year. We're anticipating revenue of $1.2 million. We've encumbered for capital needs this year $164,000. And then you see our projected ending balance of $1.3 million. We have anticipated revenue, and how we come to that anticipated revenue is we automatically back out seniors. We don't know who will be coming in on school choice. And then because normally, and I think Pam and Paul, when I talked with you, the estimates we had before were much more conservative. We just took the base rate, meaning every child who comes in, the base rate is $5,000. So for every school choice in, you multiply by 5,000. But if a student has an IEP, we're able to then charge for all of those services. So what we did was, we didn't back out any of the special education, it's called special education increment revenue, didn't back any of that out. We left it in there. We did back out seniors, and we backed out the most volatile grades, grade 6 and grade 8. So you can imagine that's where students start potentially making other choices. I choiced into Hadley Elementary, but I want to go to my home high school. I choiced in, but now I want to go to my home high school or voc school. So that's how we came to that number. It is a complete projection. School choice is billed to actual on the town side, and the revenue is to actual. So sometimes you'll see a school choice number that says there were 12.73 kids. It's because it's the day they arrive, right? It's not a head count, it's an enrollment, and it's always to actual. So we have budgeted to use almost $2 million in fiscal year 27. We have money encumbered for the capital plan in FY27, but we wouldn't be able to use any of that for the capital plan. We would have then an ending balance, which is in keeping with the school committee policy to ensure that school choice reserves are at least equal to our entitlement grants, not our competitive grants. And that would leave no policy surplus. We do use school choice money for unexpected expenses, something that on another day, Peter, I would love to show you this most recent bill I got today. So for example, unexpected expenses, just today I was presented with work to the heating system at both schools. That the estimate we got was $42,000. The central office boiler, the estimate we got on that was $8,000. There's air in the line now, and that's gasping for breath. And we spent $10,000 because our mini split had broken in one of our classrooms, and so we had to keep the door open between the principal's office and the classroom to get heat from the principal's office, which was really not very good heat. The children ended up just moving from room to find heat. So that's an example of unbudgeted expenses that we use school choice money for that we don't turn to the town for. So what I just gave you is $60,000 unexpected. That has happened within the last few weeks.
How many school choice students do we have?
So if you turn here.
Okay, I'm jumping the gun, sorry about that.
No worries. So you can see the amount applied.
Mhm.
So starting in fiscal year 20, you're using an increasing greater share of school choice. And then you can see the number of school choice. These are a choice in. So right now we're at 146 student to school choice in. I'm sure people, the next chart on page 5 tells you the broader object codes, so what's changing in the budget and what changed the most with a description of what those object codes are. Object codes are something that the state uses when we do our end of year report. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has something called a chart of accounts. So they have all these numbers and we have to report on what we spend and they track what we spend. When you look at the percent changes for things like professional salaries, tells you everybody who's in there, clerical salaries. Keep in mind for our union contracts, that's not a straight COLA. If somebody has steps or lanes similar to what you see in public safety contracts or DPW contracts, so some people, if they're at the top step, they get a COLA. And those increases are negotiated 3 years at a time. Some people, if they have a step increase, they get a COLA and a step increase. So it's different for different people depending on where they are in the salary schedule. So our total budget increase is, again, the town local contribution that's been presented is a decrease of 8.21%. We put together right now, but we have a budget gap we'd have to close of close to $750,000 of a budget increase of 2.23. Pages 6 and 7 break out what are called function subtotals and what's changed in those function subtotals. And I'll walk you through, and it's also listed for you on page 8, any function subtotal that had an increase or decrease of 5%, and that was over $1,000. So if it was like a $50 increase, and that represented 10%, I didn't explain that out. So you can see that business and finance, you see an increase. That is primarily due to the fact that we will need to either hire a temporary or substitute employee or contract for some services while we have an employee on a protected leave. Administrative technology and support decrease. We went through everything and reduced and consolidated contracted services for technology support. Elementary and secondary teaching services, so this is where all of your teachers are, all of your related service providers, your occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech language therapists, counselors, all live in this line. So that's step and lane and COLA increases per the contract. And there's a chart I'll show you at the end that shows you average Hadley salaries compared to other districts in the county. Professional development, we, again, making every attempt to reduce costs and try to keep the budget increase to a minimum. So we'll pursue grant funding to offset those budget reductions. In materials and supplies, we also have pursued a number of grants, and as a direct result, teachers have been able to purchase a lot of materials and supplies that will hopefully take them through next year. Other instructional services decreased because we negotiated a contract for what's called a related service provider, a support service provider, that's much less than the contract we were in. Guidance services, that increase has to do with step lane and COLA increases per the contract. In transportation, I want to give Chris a ton of credit. He has been working like crazy to try to consolidate and negotiate the best possible price for specialized transportation. So that can be students going to out-of-district special education schools, but also there's a federal law for students and families experiencing homelessness. And if a student or family is in Hadley Public Schools and becomes homeless during that time period, and they end up moving elsewhere, we are required by federal law to provide them transportation back to Hadley Public Schools. These specialized routes can be very expensive. Regular transportation runs about, a big yellow bus probably runs about $287 a day on a contract, and specialized transportation can be upwards of $300 a day.
Is that mandated through the end of that year, or is it right through their education?
No,
or-
so it's definitely in the year that they're in, and then depending, sometimes the law requires cost splits with the district that they go to for a period of time. But it's a year, it does not go on ad infinitum.
Until
Yeah.
they graduate.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. But it can be a big hit in a given year, and especially if you don't expect it. And again, I'm not blaming the person, I mean, people fall upon the hard times, their problems are bigger than mine trying to find a bus, but it can be quite expensive.
And they can elect to go to the school that they need to.
They absolutely can, yep.
The question is, I've seen or heard of some schools charging for a bus.
Yeah, so we have not done that, and certainly I'm open to have any conversation with FinCom about what might make sense. I can tell you historically, and this is not to imply that every, cent doesn't matter, but I said, okay, how much money might we actually get for the amount of ire that you folks, the select board and the school committee would get in return, right, in terms of, how much money would we actually recoup versus how much frustration families might feel. But that doesn't close the door on that conversation. The short answer is no, we don't charge. We don't charge for our clubs, we don't charge, we treat public education as it's to be free, so we don't. Our food services, that looks like 100% increase in food services. So what we did, because no matter what happens, we really have to keep a close eye on school choice. I already showed you that the kinds of expenses that were unexpected this year, and we'll have no wiggle room in school choice. So what usually happens with food services, because the reimbursement we get from the federal government doesn't cover the cost of operating the program, although they presume it's an enterprise fund. So by definition, an enterprise fund is supposed to bring in the revenue that matches its expenses. It doesn't. But we still have to and want to feed children. So every year we end up taking money out of the operating budget and addressing the deficit that is in that revolving account. Knowing that we'll be so tight on school choice, that's why we said, okay, what do we typically have to give to food services? That's for most schools, all meals. How much do we usually have to give to them to plug the hole? Athletic and student activities and athletic services, again, those coaches, they receive COLAs and steps, depending, most of our coaches, I think, are top step. But there was an increase, a spike in the cost for the athletic trainer. That's not something that we have in-house. Utility services, that we have adjusted, and really that reflects, we've adjusted based on past expenditures, and of course, we're seeing tremendous volatility right now in energy markets. I will say, if we had to lock in, so we get our energy from Lower Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative is the cooperative purchaser for our energy. I'm not sure if it's on the town side as well. But do you guys use LPVEC
No,
on the
we
town
don't.
side? You don't?
No.
So if we didn't, they released the week before, about 2 weeks ago, the week before the Iran conflict started, they released, you could lock in. And we didn't lock in that week, because we normally don't lock in right away. We normally don't lock in winter. As a matter of fact, we're encouraged by LPDEC to kind of wait and see. If we had to lock in right now, I would say as of Friday, it'd be even more right now. If we had to lock in as of Friday, actually it would be $8,500 more than we've currently budgeted. We are not going to lock in and hope that things settle down. And of course, it's even more today because the price of Brent crude just went through the roof. On vocational tuitions, I will tell you that we have placeholders in the budget. So every year we don't know how many freshmen will go to Smith Oaks. So we do have some placeholders in the budget. And we won't know until later in the spring how many students end up going. Our special education tuitions, we always then look at the budget. We look at the students who are actually in the seats. And every year something called Operational Services Division publishes the tuitions for these out-of-district placements, and then we adjust our budget accordingly.
So $44,000, well, the average you said was about $5,000. I mean, if the standard kid school choice comes to, Hadley, it's about $5,000 per student. And then after, if it goes to Smith, it's also the same, or do they charge more?
No, they do charge more. So Smith tuition is, and there's a reason for that, obviously, that Smith vocational tuitions are more because their per pupil expenditure runs closer to $33,000 per pupil. That was in fiscal year 24. That, for the most part in vocational education, tracks to the small class size in shops for good reason, for safety reasons, and the cost of equipment. The tuition per voc student is, we've estimated, we assumed that the increase would be 3%. Dr. Lynn, Andy, if you're watching this, please don't let it be more than 3%. The superintendent over there, we assumed the increase would be 3%, and that put it at about $22,368 or $86 per pupil. That does not include transportation. We're required by law to also provide the transportation. We split that cost with Amherst. We share a bus with Amherst. So for each child that goes to Smith, it's closer to between 22 and 23, plus their transportation. School choice, we don't ever pay transportation. It's not included. The data on, I know the numbers are most important to you, so what I'll end up pointing out to you are things that you can look at your leisure. The data on pages 9 and 10 show you information about district enrollment and also about foundation enrollment. So on page 9, you're looking at district enrollment, so that includes students, school choice students. On page 10, you're looking at foundation enrollment. Foundation enrollment are the students for whom the town is fiscally responsible, legally obligated to educate. And it's that number that drives your state aid in Chapter 70. So we talk a lot about declining enrollment in schools. It's really, one of the challenges for Hadley is like just declining children in the community, because that affects your Chapter 70 funding. And we often talk, this group and others, that there's probably many things at play, like the cost of housing and other things that factor into that. But that definitely has an effect on your state aid numbers. While our total population and across the Commonwealth, you're seeing declining population in public education, the needs of students are increasing. And so that chart at the bottom of 10 shows you, so high needs is a state definition. It's any student that's either an English language learner and or a student with an IEP and or a low income student. So you can see high needs has increased from school year 18-19 to 29% of our population to almost 42% of our population in this school year. Students with disabilities has increased from 15% of our school population to 23.3% of the population in this school year. The other charts, some of them are redundant. So on 11, you see school choice information. And as part of school choice, there is something called virtual schools. And so in virtual schools, Students, they're part of school choice. Obviously, virtual school students would never choice in. You can only go out. There are 2 virtual schools in the Commonwealth. And you can see right now for 3 students, because that is, the virtual school rate is higher than that 5,000. Up here, you can see the virtual school rate is 13,114. So if a Hadley student choices out to Amherst, it's 5,000 for a base rate. So this is at the top of the virtual. If a Hadley student goes to a virtual school, the base rate is just over 13,000. There's an admin fee of $75, and then there's special education increment. So you can see we have 3 students in fiscal year 26. Some of whom clearly have special education increment, because if you divided that number by 3, it's slightly more than the 13,000 that you have there.
So the virtual school is if they say they just, so they homeschool themselves, kind of.
Well, no, homeschool is different. In homeschool, you pay nothing. Also, we get, there's, nothing happens with homeschool in terms of like a charge out or anything like that. In virtual school, the students enroll in either, I forget what they call themselves now, but it used to be the Greenfield Virtual School. I think they have a different name now. There's a virtual school in Greenfield, and there's one called TECA, which is out east. And they enroll, and they have to show up for classes online. Think COVID.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
It's
So-
COVID, it's better than that. My colleagues are watching that, but I'm simply calling it, it's kind of like COVID school.
Yeah, okay, but they have to show up for
Yes.
classes, and for some
It's
reason.
scheduled
it's-
time, so it's not asynchronous, it's not a plan, like a homeschool parent who lives in Hadley submits a plan to the school, we're required to approve that by law. No, you show up, it's online learning that is synchronous, they take attendance every day, they take the MCAS, yeah,
Oh,
all of
Kind
that,
of like going to college online, basically.
precisely.
Yep.
And they're included in the foundation numbers then?
If they're a Hadley resident, they
Yeah,
are.
okay.
So your foundation definition are the students for whom you're fiscally responsible. So you get that chapter 78, right, that comes in, they're counted in your foundation money. And then you're assessed on the town side, on your cherry sheet where it says assessments and charges, they are part of this money, which is part of the total school choice sending tuition you see on your cherry sheet on the town side. It's included in that. Page 13 and 14, we track, I'm sorry.
I gotta just quick,
Yeah, of
if
course.
we have 146 people that are coming in from school choice,
Mhm.
how many, I guess, I don't know if we wanna say residents or students of residents of Hadley do we have? Do you say we have 500 kids total, so we know that there's 354 kids in the school system that
Yeah,
we
so I
have?
can give you an exact number on that.
Am I jumping the gun again?
You're not jumping the
Okay,
gun at
if I
all.
was jumping
You wanna give me
again,
2
you know,
seconds.
15 minutes
and
later,
then
I'm asking all
for
these
your-
questions.
No, you're fine. I'm gonna look this up for you right now. I just need to make sure before I look this up that, this camera can't catch anything that's on
No,
my
I just-
screen.
I just
Okay?
checked it.
Is that, all right, that's good. So then let me just do this quickly for you. And I can tell you that right now. And then for your reading enjoyment, while I'm looking this up, which will just take a moment, we do pay attention to where are kids going and where are they coming from, because that helps us say, okay, why are they all going there? What do we need to do? What do we need to offer? And I would call your attention, if you look at Amherst, that second line, in fiscal year 22, so you see choice in, and again, that is, just listen next, there you go, right here. See that head count I talked about? So 3, because that child, somebody choiced in after the school year had started. So let's call it 14 students from Amherst were coming to us in fiscal year 22, and 22 Hadley students were going to Amherst. And then if you look at fiscal year 26, we now have 35 students coming in from Amherst, and only 19 of our students going out. And let me look this up for you, Peter.
Have you asked the parents or the students saying, asking them why have they chosen to go to Amherst? Do they have certain, is it because of certain sports that they have? Is it because of they just wanna have the experience of dealing with a lot of kids in in a big school instead of how small Hadley is?
So we do ask them, I'm gonna have you hold that
Sure.
thought, only because I'm answering your other question.
I know,
right now. I don't wanna lose
I'm
it.
throwing a
You're
lot of
good.
stuff at you.
Yeah, no, you're good, I wanna make sure I look this up correctly. 340 right now, resident,
That's how many students you have, 340?
not total
Resident.
resident, he asked me
Right.
for resident
So you
enrollment.
got
Oh,
446 total.
No, because
Meaning-
on the
meaning-
resident, because pre-K isn't counted the same way,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm gonna bring you back to here just for a second.
Oh, okay, so there's,
See this?
got it,
So this also includes pre-K.
Got
And,
it.
yeah, and pre-K is counted differently. They're just counted differently because it's not required by law, right, pre-K. And then you asked me, do we interview students and families? We do ask them, we do exit interviews. Students are not allowed to say that they are, so FYI families, if you're watching in this community or another community, you are not allowed to say that you're choosing a school for sports. We are obligated, if they say that, to say you can't come here. So that's not considered a good reason, but, yeah, I think some students absolutely, they look at what they're interested in, but more often than not, students, sometimes are looking for a bigger school, just more children.
Mhm.
Right? That's usually what we hear. And we also track in what grades. I think I pointed out to you before that we really want to pay attention if we see an uptick. So this, I would say you read this graph diagonally. So if I'm looking at, take kindergarten in fiscal year 25 and the red choice out, and then I diagonally go to the first grade, what I don't want to see is that went from 4 to 8, right? So we monitor by grade, we monitor by community, we monitor by grade. But overall, you can see there that roughly, 5 times, we have 5, for every 1 student going out at Hadley Elementary, we have roughly 5 students coming in. For every 1 student going out at Hopkins, we have roughly 4 students going in. The same ratio roughly district-wide.
Do you keep, does this tell you where they're coming from?
Yes.
Where the kids are coming from?
Yes, so your choice in, meaning they're coming to us.
Oh.
So if you go down the green, 35 students from Choice are coming from Amherst.
Okay.
16 from
Yeah.
Holyoke, 28 from South Hadley,
Okay.
10 from Belchertown. So that tells
Yeah.
you also where they're coming from. And I would say, and I have to say this, I believe that this town is really good at this. You guys don't get paid to do this, and you couldn't pay me $1 million to do what you're doing right now. To make really, to make really hard decisions in a community that you care deeply about. And what I most appreciate though, is that headlines that talk about the decimation of schools or town services send people running. I have a boatload of school choice applications right now. You can probably guess what communities they're from, because they're communities that are all over the paper as everything's falling apart. And unfortunately for some of these communities, they already have a huge liability on their cherry sheet for school choice out, and it's just going to get worse.
Do we have a limit of how many kids we can school choice in?
Yeah, the principals decide how many slots are in a grade. At the elementary school, we try to keep our grades at 25 per classroom, so 25 students per classroom. We have a lot more room at Hopkins Academy, but they do have, they do set a limit. We will report that limit to the school committee at the end of April. We're required by law to inform the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education no later than May 1st of every year which grades are open and how many slots are in each grade. If demand exceeds available slots, the law says that I literally have to have a hand lottery. So Dee comes into my office, rips all the names up, puts them in a hat. I mean, we actually have a hat for this. And then I reach in and pull them out. It's
Why
really high
not?
tech.
Why not?
It's really high tech. So that's how you do that. There is no like first come, first serve.
How much excess capacity do we have before we would max out?
Well, generally we shoot for about 50 per grade right now. April may have more than that at the high school, so yeah.
Or close?
Yeah, no, we have more room at the high school. Some grades and sometimes we go slightly less. So next year I can tell you, I think 6th grade will not be open next year. And some grades have more room than others. So I think every single grade except for grade 6 is open next year. You can see our vocational school enrollment on page 16. So we saw in fiscal year 19, 35 students going to vocational school. We saw a steady decrease. We saw an uptick in fiscal year 26. Based on what we're seeing right now, I think that was an anomaly. And what we have tried to do is we want students to pursue what makes them happy. But we have tried really hard to increase these innovation career pathways, opportunities for students to participate in internships, to take more tech-focused coursework through early college. Students, for example, if a student is in the clean energy innovation pathway, they can take highly specialized credit-bearing college courses in clean energy at Greenfield Community College. They have a certificate in that. So we are doing our best to say to students, pursue whatever path makes you happy, but it's our obligation to make sure we have as much as we possibly can right here.
I have a question on the charter school,
Sure.
because I do see a lot going into some of the charter schools. Don't they have a cap on how many students they could take from a community?
They have a cap when it's not so much a head count as it is the percentage when you hit what they call this percentage of net school spending that you're spending on charter schools. So the short answer to your question is there are some breaks on that that make it so sometimes a charter school will say to residents in a community, we can't accept any more students from that community right now. I think last year might have hit that, but that can change from year to year, right?
Okay.
That can change from year to year.
Okay.
So it's not a hard and fast number, it has more to do with expenditures.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can make sure I email you back, and if I email you, anything I email you, Amy,
I'll forward.
you can get out to
Mhm.
everybody. So I can provide you more information on that. We've talked on page 17 about choice in and choice out, you already saw that from the other presentation. On 18, I have said many times, this town, it's not unique. The vast majority of towns are now in what's called hold harmless. So hold harmless means that your chapter 70, either populations are declining or your enrollment's remaining flat. And so the most to that you can expect to see in increased aid is anywhere from $75 per pupil to $150 per pupil. In a small district like Hadley, sometimes that equates to $15,000 of increased chapter 70 funding. That doesn't really keep pace with inflation. The vast majority, towns that are in a hold harmless, I think 281 school districts right now in the Commonwealth are in hold harmless. It's close to 85% of all districts. There is a big push to look at the funding formula for schools because it seems to not be working as effectively as it could be, particularly for rural communities. Vast majority of towns end up giving education more than they're required to. Hadley does that too, and we are incredibly grateful, and that's what the graphs on 18 show, that Hadley does provide more than required net school spending. And again, I'll underscore, we are very grateful for that, and I also, because we're grateful and we don't take that for granted, I go back to that first point that I make, that we try really hard to be good, responsible fiscal stewards with the town's money and to produce strong results. 19, you saw this already, but that's the percentage. Yeah. of
So you're
course you
saying
did.
it takes, to educate a student, it's about $22,000.
And you're gonna see another chart in 2 pages that tells you exactly how much it is and how it compares to other people.
You're ahead of the game again, Peter.
Always. I know, I feel like, oh my gosh, I gotta speed this up. Peter's like, come on, fall asleep. Okay, so you've seen on 19, you've seen that as a percentage of the total town budget. This is what you saw in the previous, this presentation. And so then to your question on page 20, Peter, and the reason it says fiscal year 24 is because I always try to use publicly available data. I expect citizens to fact check me. Don't take me at my word. So this is publicly available on DESE's website. And so you can see it's a little smushed, but yes, you read the chart correctly. So if you look at Hadley in FY24, per pupil expenditure, 25,173. so my charts are not as good on the other ones, they get kind of cramped. They're not as clear. And you can see with a high of 31, just over 31,000 in Amherst, and a low of 17 in FY24, 17,372 in East Hampton. How you arrive at that is you take your total operating expenses as your numerator, and your denominator is your enrollment. And of course, so then in places like Hatfield and Hadley, our denominator is much less, right? And some of those costs, and this, the reason I put these data in here is because I want citizens to say, oh, hold the phone, that seems like a bit much, why are you doing that? So I want to be transparent with all of that. So do know though that some of those costs, when you look at things like heating, some of those costs are fixed. And so when the denominator starts to shrink and you're distributing fixed costs over a smaller denominator, your per pupil expenditure will go up, which is, you see that in Hadley and Hatfield. Higher enrollment than we do. And so on 21, this goes to right now, as I said, given the assumptions that we have for local contribution, we are looking right now, although there are things at play, and at the end I'll tell you what those are, the things that are still unknowns. But if you had to close the $750,000 gap, the easy math is just divide by a teacher's salary. Now this provides you with averages. It's not individuals make, you know, a brand new teacher with less education on the first step makes less than a teacher with a PhD on the top step. So this is also publicly available data, DESE, Radar, and it would take about 10 teachers to close that gap. And this, I put this chart together hoping it's helpful to FinCom. And particularly, I think people have been asking really good questions about health insurance. What does this look like around us? What are we doing here? I believe that the law says that you can't go below 50-50, but I'll leave that to Linda and Jennifer to speak to. I'm not exactly sure on municipal health insurance. But you can see what other towns are paying. Now, in some of these, Amherst, any time you see that little purple check mark, it's because I have a comment next to it in my Excel spreadsheet. But what that comment is they also offer a PPO option, and honestly, I don't even know what that stands for, but Pam probably does. But anyways, they have a PPO option. We don't. We have an HMO option. And so I compared their HMO option. If you take a PPO in that town, then the split is 75-25. It's less of a split. But I compared HMO to HMO.
Your deductibles and authorizations and referrals and all that change. PPO versus HMO.
And it sounds like PPO, you have lower deductible. You must have more because the town pays less for it. Yeah, so it's more expensive. So you can see one district, Hatfield, at one point I think was 50-50, I think, and they have increased it, as you can see, to 60-40. So they're lower than we are, and then Hadley is the next lowest in our surrounding communities. And much of the remaining data you have seen, as I've said to you, these are about outcomes. So, you know, I pointed out that we're the only high school that has all state-approved innovation career pathways. We lead in advanced coursework completion. That's what's on 24. You've already seen that. In grads attending higher ed. And then on 26, this has far more detail. So on your one slide that I see you brought a copy of too, but I gave you another copy of the February 23rd. There was a slide that was more attractive and like that showed you what grads were earning, but this has all the backup data to it. So what are our grads earning and what are they earning when they graduate from other schools? And that's at the bottom of 26, or 26 at the bottom of 26. So we look at their year of graduation, then we look at their 2023 average earnings, and you can see I showed you how Hadley ranks against other schools, whether or not we were in the top quartile for that year of graduation, and then you can see the backup data below. Again, all of these are publicly available, but I try to make it easy for the public to fact check me. And so we are, our students are consistently doing well in their earnings, and those are students who go right into the workforce and students who go to college. And the other, we are focused on trying to get students in computer science courses. We're always trying to improve on that. That's on 27. The arts course we're taking on 28 is pretty competitive. We all kind of are around 90%, except for Hampshire and Smith, but that would be expected at Smith Vocational. And yeah, and there's a little bit on the back about clubs and extracurriculars. About 70% of HES students participate in clubs, 80% of high school students, or HA students, 7 through 12. About 2/3 of our students at Hopkins participate in athletics. And that is the budget. I'm happy to answer additional questions.
And-
Oh, you're looking at me.
Yeah, yeah, comments.
Okay, so you go first.
Just when you were going over the
Sure.
school choice projections, like you said, the seniors you take out, obviously they're not coming back. So how, just to get it clear in my head, how do you work in the freshmen coming in, and like what type of methodology do you use?
Yeah, so we don't, and so no, we used to just project our school choice revenues and only use the base amount. But we've consistently received a great deal in special ed increment, which is why now we're doing projections that include that special education increment, but back out the seniors, and then, as I said, we backed out grade 6 and grade 8, those volatile grades. I have no way of knowing who will come. You see, we have been increasing in school choice. There will come a time, I mean, part of the problem is there's declining population in Western Massachusetts. So while we are, you know, the crazy chart that I have there of every town and every grade and I say all the time, if karma's a thing, I'm coming back as a spreadsheet. I mean, I just could do this all day long. That all of that, we get a lot of school choice students, but there'll be a cap on how many available school choice students there are. So we also felt like it was important we're being more aggressive than we have in the past, but we still want to be somewhat conservative because again, that's to actual, right? So it's actually who's in the seat. If they don't come or if they leave, we lose that money. And I just gave you the example of, what did I say, $60,000 in the last couple of weeks of unexpected expenses that we don't go to the town for and say, this broke, can you fix it? We just fix it. And we feel that that's fair, we just fix it. You guys also, you know, invest more than you're required to in your schools.
What is the clean energy that you're offering for the students for those later degrees, whether at Greenfield, because it was computer science,
Oh, the pathways?
pathways, yes.
Yeah.
What is the clean energy, what is that?
So in clean energy, they would take project lead, so what we first ask students is, okay, if this is a sector that interests you, then we take them on this thing called ONIT, if you've seen it, or the Department of Economic Research, anyways, where you find employment projections. And we show the students all of the occupational sectors within a particular industry. And then based on what their interests are, the courses they might take at Hopkins Academy could be project lead the way courses in environmental science, environmental sustainability, could be a chemistry course depending on what they're interested in. And then for their early college experience, once again, they might say, well, you know what I think I want to do? I want to be somebody that gets into solar, or I want to be somebody that gets into wind. Through early college, they can take whatever course they want. We also allow them to take courses at UMass, although UMass only offers a specific course. Most of our students in the business and finance innovation career pathway go to UMass because they're offering us business and hospitality courses. So we really try to personalize it. We have the most unique early college program. Most schools who have early college tell every child you're taking English 101 and English 102, Math 111 and Math 112. You have to all take it together as a cohort. Sometimes a college professor comes and teaches on the high school campus. My thought was, that sounds like high school on steroids. Like if I'm a kid who wants to go to college, it's because I don't want adults telling me what to do anymore. So that sounded horrible, and that's why we designed a system where students say, this is what I think I want to do for a living, this is the occupation I'm interested in, and then we also connect them with an advisor in higher ed who shows them the classes that'll most help them. The only thing that's required is it has to be what's called an A to B mapped course. It's a silly phrase from higher ed, meaning that it has to be a transfer credit. So, and most things are, even if it transfers into gen ed, but we don't want them wasting the opportunity to save themselves or their family money. Anything else?
Oh, we have someone in the
Oh,
audience
sorry.
that would like to ask her a question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, Nancy Damon, 17 High Meadow Road.
Hi,
We
Nancy.
don't have children presently in the school system.
Well, you should think about it. I try to get everybody on that train.
Okay. My question is, if I heard correctly, I don't have the second packet, that's
Sure.
no problem, that it sounds like 10 teachers may be slated for departure in FY '27?
Right now, we're looking at a deficit of 750,000, and I said the average teaching salary is 75,000, and so that's just quick math. But here's what's still at play, and I'm glad you asked that, just so folks here know. So some of the things that are still unknowns is if a student who currently attends is a Hadley resident, well, at any time, a Hadley resident, if a student requires a special education placement, that, you know, we don't know those. We assume we're not gonna have a surprise. Anytime up until April 1st, if somebody moves into the district, if they move into the district and they're currently going to school, let's say they're going to school in Amherst, they move to Hadley, and they're at somewhere like the May Center. I mean, I think the May Center's tuition right now is close to 140, it might be 150 a year per student. That doesn't include transportation, which is roughly about another 70 to 80 a year. If that person moves in before April 1st, the town is required by law to pick up that tuition. That wouldn't be sitting in this budget. Other things that are unknown, of course, energy is unknown for us right now. So that question around, oh, if you're looking at this deficit, that deficit could get worse, the deficit could get better, right? We're also always trying to work with families and say, hey, do we have something that we could offer you? So it still can move in either direction, but if it stayed right there, and we just said that equals about 10 teachers.
So, in my second part of my question is that I also heard that trends of special needs and students who have more demands, so to speak, on the school system, that could be a real crunch, right? Because if there's a deficit and you have a student population that is increasing in needs, there could be another deficit of another type.
Yes, that probably relates more to what I was saying. If we've budgeted for the students we know that we have, and you're right, then we would have to look at all services and say, okay, what are we going to do with that?
I guess I'm thinking of school choice that you don't even know about yet, who may want to come into Hadley with special needs in
Yeah.
addition.
Well, and just so
But
you know
then
with
that
that,
means they get extra, you get extra, we get extra tuition.
correct, and that's a really important thing. I always say that I'd like to be the destination district for families of students with special needs, and some people say, well, that's crazy. No, you're not. No, it isn't, because we have a speech language pathologist, because we're obligated by law to provide these services for resident students who have this on an IEP. If a student from another district choices in, and they also have an IEP that requires speech and language services, the same person now, a portion of them, is allocated to that district. That person would be working for us anyways, right? So special education increment actually works very well for us, and I'm happy to say, which I do have a chart that's not in this. When we do the public presentation, I'll have a chart on that where you can see our special education increment. I mean, I'm proud for moral reasons to be a place that families of students with disabilities say, that's where we want to educate our children. Primarily for that. What I want to disabuse anyone of is that, oh, but wait a minute, doesn't that cost us a lot of money? No, it's actually quite economically to the district's advantage as well. It's one of the few things in life where it's the right thing to do, and it also makes sense financially.
So question, I know the $750,000 is tentatively,
Yeah.
nothing's in stone, but tentatively 10 teachers positions. What does that do to our school choice and everything that's going,
Right.
that we have
So, and
been
that-
so good at?
Yeah, so thank you for saying that. And remember, as I said, one of the things I appreciate about the town is that the conversations are always measured, they're never alarmist. And I want to underscore for the viewing public, because it's not just Hadley who watches these, it's parents in all kinds of communities. And this is sincere. And this is a group of people, the FinCom, the select board, who care deeply about this town. We all live here, you care deeply about the town, you want to have great services here, and you also want to be fiscally responsible to the, and understand that folks who live here, like, you can't eat equity. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what your house is worth, you can't go to the grocery store and say, well, you know how much my house is worth, I'll pay for that later. So I understand all that. I think it's important that when we're talking about this, that people are still trying to say, okay, what options do we have? And no matter what, I will say that the teachers, we are really committed to continue to deliver these kinds of outcomes. You know, I don't, but yeah, if we start, there's a reason why, as of last week, at the high school, I had over, we haven't advertised yet for school choice. I think as of last week, we had roughly 20 applications at the high school, 15 were from one town. I know exactly why that is. I know exactly what that is, because that's what the conversations that are happening in the paper and outside of the paper.
So if you're losing, and again, I know it's not in stone, but if we lose even 3 or 4 teachers, that brings your classroom sizes down, or up, I should say, which caps you for school choice,
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
limits that you want to try to maintain.
yeah.
So it's definitely an issue.
Yeah, I think it is, but I want to underscore again, and don't hear me, I hope you heard in this presentation how grateful I am to work in this community, how proud I am of the schools, and that has zippo to do with me. I'll say again, no kid ever said, my superintendent's the greatest. Don't even know who I am. So it has nothing to do with me, it has to do with the adults working in the schools and the students in the schools, and,
You can
Yeah.
see their dedication. You
yeah,
can absolutely see it.
I'm really proud of them, and I advocate for them strongly, and I'll say again, I don't envy your folks' position. You must be in this for the money.
I'm just here for a big cash payout.
Yeah. Not even the coffee and the donuts. I mean, my gosh, it's not even a snack for you.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
One is on the charter school, because I saw that there was about 30 kids going to the Chinese immersion. So is there any way to share services, maybe in kind, with the Chinese immersion school so that we have them teach, maybe classes in Chinese, but yet we offer them things that they have trouble with, such as the music program or something like that? Because them being a smaller school have trouble where we excel at maybe music, but then it would, maybe some of those kids would have that option of Chinese, maybe, and they get to have music and sports and everything else with us, they might not go there. Or even maybe if we had Chinese at our school, I'm thinking maybe it might even bring more kids in, because if they couldn't get to the Chinese immersion school, hey, we have that option from that Chinese immersion school. I don't know, it's just, they're local, they're in town, and I thought if we could partner in any way, I mean, the money is going over there, but if we could get some of it back or do some type of partnership,
Sure.
I feel like that might be a
I think that's a great idea.
great thing. The other thing is, I like looking at all your numbers. The numbers are really good. Your budgeting is right on, and I mean, there's nothing in here. I mean, the information you gave us is awesome, and I see it going. You're making this go in the right direction. It's like a business, and you've been. I was with you in the beginning when some of those numbers were the other way, and everyone was trying to think of different ways, but you got the numbers going in the right direction, and you're doing a great job with running the schools, and you're being very fiscally responsible, I think.
Thank you. It's easy to do good work when you have really good people and really good students. I mean, look, I have
Yeah.
them right here. There you go.
Yeah, great students.
See, graduate. Obviously, for this role, you're not in that earnings data.
Yeah.
You got a free job.
So if and this could be, Linda could answer this too, if we ended up and there was an override and say, people ask for the menu and it was just the school, would that have to be all the time? Would that go right into the school? If that was ever approved at the town, would that stay and go direct, just like kind of school choice goes directly to the school? Would this money go directly to the school, or would it go to the budget?
For the first year into the schools.
It'd only do
In
it for the
support of
first year,
buses.
but then afterwards.
It's spread
And
around.
afterwards.
Then
it would be-
afterwards,
free.
yeah,
It would be-
it raises
it would be
your,
available.
it raises the tax floor. However, I would say that, which you guys do a great job of in select board, I mean, directing what those priorities should be, you still have a voice in directing what those priorities should be, I would say. But you can't target an override after the initial year. So it just goes, it's essentially
Right.
to the general fund.
But you've gotten
Yeah.
a read on the town and what the interest is
And
and
what they
people
expect.
want, so.
Where they have
committee
what they
directive, I don't know
expect.
why you would reverse it.
Amy, you asked that question. I'm gonna follow up on that shared service. I feel like there was another question I said that I would provide you folks with, or maybe I looked it up. Maybe it was the resident number. Was that it? Peter, did you ask me something else? I said I'd have to look up and get back to you.
There was something else with the kids' names at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Circuit breaker. Can I
Yes.
send may I send you an email?
What is,
that
yeah,
lays that out?
exactly what is the circuit breaker? again?
Yeah, so
Just to-
I will,
I missed
I'm gonna
this
give you
one.
really short and sloppy, and then I am going to send an email that allows you to look at it much more clearly. But if we have a student who is in an out-of-district placement, and once a tuition for a student hits a certain threshold, the state gives the school department back reimbursement. It's the same, it works kind of like charter aid, although the formula is different. The town gets charter aid back. The schools get circuit breaker reimbursement back, and that's where for every dollar over that tuition amount, the school gets a reimbursement. One thing that's important to remember is they look at an individual tuition. So if you had, two children together and they were each in a $30,000 tuition, they don't start giving you, or they were each in a $35,000 tuition. They don't say, okay, between those two children you spent $70,000, now we're gonna give you the reimbursement for every dollar above 60. Each individual tuition has to meet the threshold. And then annually, the legislature votes about how much of the percentage they're going to fund. I think by law, they were supposed to fund every year 75%. I think maybe they're supposed to fund 80%. I don't even know, because they never do. So usually it can be as low as 60, it can be 70 or 72. So every year the legislature votes it.
What is the rural aid?
So that is the one thing that I'm saying to people, it's out there, so we might want to ask the governor to fully fund it. It was cut this year. Rural aid is something that came out of a study, so I'm gonna write here, circuit breakers, so I don't forget,
It's not your
and I'm gonna write
pay,
rural aid. Where a commission said it is more expensive to educate children in rural school districts because you have lower population density, and the way the formula works, it's not because rural districts are out wasting money, it's because how the education formula works, that urbans and densely populated areas benefit much more from the state aid formula for public education than rural schools do. The Boston Globe had a great article at the beginning of February, how rural schools in Massachusetts are in a death spiral, and it's similar to rural across the country. So that rural aid, I'd said, I think before you got here, had it been fully funded this year, the state level, Hadley would have received $318,000. We budgeted initially for we budgeted for what it was the year before. I can't see my 1, 2, 3. So we budgeted at 84, and then it got cut after the year started, and we had to adjust that downward.
So it seems like from 26 to 27 is because of the circuit breaker.
Well, a big part of it is a decrease in circuit breaker.
Mhm.
So all those things, the deficit starts happening because, one, the decrease, that's decrease in local contribution, this is 640. A decrease in circuit breaker. This is a student from another school district who is attending the program and paying tuition in Hadley Elementary, and they are returning to their district for a specialized program. That's not school choice, that's a tuition. And then we try to make up as much as we can by increasing revenue from school choice.
Right. Now, is there a set standard when it comes to school choice within all schools of the base minimum of
No.
$5,000, or is it based on, you know what I mean, the costs for the town of Hadley for school choice, is it the same as Amherst?
I understand
You know what I mean? It's like if Amherst
Absolutely.
comes to Hadley and it's say,
always
okay,
five
Hadley
grand.
goes to Smith School and say it's, you know, you said it was based of like $5,000.
It's always
Right, so it's all across the board, all in the state of Massachusetts, all
5,000
$5,000.
plus, for school choice, 5,000 plus sped increment. The virtual tuition you saw was closer to 13,000.
Yeah,
And vocationals are a whole separate
Right.
ballgame, that's not school choice, that's its own district.
so I just didn't know if it was per school or that's the way the state mandated, it said
Five
five
grand
grand and
across
that's it.
And I don't
across the
think
board.
it's-
Okay.
I don't think it's increased, Peter, maybe since they passed the law. I mean, maybe it was like 4,200 when it has, I don't know, but it hasn't increased much.
So that vocational is up there, how about charter? What's that?
Charter is a nightmare of a formula. So charter is every single school district is paying a different tuition at every single charter school. So what they do at the charter school is they take who are the students that you're sending us, and then based on, because the state says it's most expensive to educate a high school student, second most expensive to educate an elementary student, and third most expensive to educate a middle school student. And so for every single one of those grade bands, the state says, this is what we think it costs to educate that student. So they take our actual enrollment, they figure out what each one of those in Hadley, figure out what that rate is. And then they look at what percentage, so they apply the same, what's called a wealth factor, which is part of the formula. So Hadley has its own wealth factor, every community does. They apply that factor. So a Hadley student, we're paying Chinese Immersion Charter School a different tuition than Belchertown is, because it is determined by the average per pupil cost based on the actual students who are sitting there and what the state calculation is for how much they cost. And if you were to say to me, why is it just a straight 5K for a public school and this, I was gonna say craziness, but let me fix that, this interestingness for charter schools, I have no idea. I have no idea. It took me a long time just to understand the charter formula.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, I don't understand this, the Chinese immersion has some IB, the status, or?
Yeah. They have,
What is
so
that?
it's a program called International Baccalaureate. Usually schools decide if they want to do International Baccalaureate, which is advanced coursework, and it's pretty prescribed, right, what students have to take. Schools often choose between International Baccalaureate and Advanced Placement. We offer Advanced Placement courses, we offer Early College, and we offer Project Lead the Way. We've gone in that direction. International Baccalaureate's wonderful. You see it often in international, American international schools overseas. But we wanted students to have more options, so.
Do you have to pick? You have to pick either or? Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
usually, I don't know if you have to pick either or, but I think it's
Oh.
untenable. You might have to pick, Amy, I don't wanna misspeak, you might have to pick, but even if you don't, it would be untenable because you wouldn't have enough staff. Like
Sure.
your classes would start to get so
Okay,
small,
yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta train teachers differently.
It's not just a test.
Yeah, no, the teachers have to go through training.
Here, you take this test. or
Yeah,
that
so
test.
our teachers go through AP advanced placement training
Okay.
to teach those courses. They go through training to teach Project Lead the Way. So it
Okay.
would just be really untenable to do that.
I mean, I've heard them
Yeah.
talk about it, and I didn't understand what it was.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
yeah. Well, Goodness gracious. Anything
We
else
have a
I
lot
can
of
do for you
questions
besides
for you,
let you
huh?
go to, no, besides let you all go to bed, you poor people, oh my gosh. Is that
Hey,
good?
do you have any questions over there? It's nice and quiet.
No, he used to watch the sausage getting made, you know, he was part of the whole thing. Rural aid circuit breaker, so I'm gonna follow up with additional information, your idea about shared services and programs, thank you for that, it was excellent. I'm going to, still even though I answered the question, provide you with resources for the whole committee on circuit breaker, how it works, and you can see the reimbursement, easy to find on Desi's website, for me, but I'll just send you the link. And, additional information on rural aid, I have a great slideshow on rural aid that will probably be really helpful.
The last thing would be great, and this could be a totally another meeting, but I
Sure.
would like to talk about it again, is your capital plans for the
Sure.
school.
Yeah.
We had talked about it at one point. I did have a sheet that it is saying what was gonna come out of the school choice money.
Yeah.
But I know that's changed probably.
has.
But I think that's a question that comes up a lot because they say there's a lot of money in school choice. And I said, well, I think they've been using it for all out of the capital, so it would be great to see.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to present on that and bring it, yeah, no problem,
Thank you.
okay, and,
Like the town, we tried to cut down on our free cash spending. Have you been, when it comes to, I mean, we know about maintenance and repairs, you're using the school choice money. Are there any other things that school choice money is going to, or I'm sure you're being smart about it and everybody in the school's being smart about it. Like the town was spending all the free cash, now we were in that trouble, now we're trying to stop that. Is there a way of saying, I know there was a piece of paper that I had before, that I think it was Chris was saying by 28, that it might not be this one, no,
no, that's the other one I gave you, it's right here.
they're saying that, okay, in 28, your funds are gonna be down to nothing now, are you using your school
These
choice?
are the slides you're thinking of.
Yes, are you using all this school choice money just to all your operating budgets?
Within-
And you're using that just to kinda like,
Yeah.
the town was using free cash to get by to balance the budget, are you kinda doing the same thing to running your budget?
Yeah, so we weren't, what I used to call the school committee's attention to was you saw that chart that showed, okay, we're using a lot more school choice, but we also were seeing a lot more school choice coming in. So that seemed like the right thing to do, right, is that, especially given the fact that the town is generous to its schools. But the point that you're raising, so in looking at, with a reduction, I mean, what's on the table right now is local contribution that is essentially equal to FY19. So what's on the table right now is the town is saying, we're going to fund our schools at the level we did in fiscal year 19. That's what that $640,000 reduction is. And in that case, to balance the budget, we're using a lot more school choice. It's now 17% of the operating budget. And that is the point that Chris was making, you're absolutely right, Peter. That is a financially untenable position to be in. I believe, I had it in my budget, but I took it out because I'm like, well, this is not my lane and I'm probably messing it up. But I think in FY25, between free cash and stabilization, that the town spent under 10%, that under 10% of the operating budget was funded through free cash and stabilization. You can fact check me on that, but I think it was in here and then I'm like, so you can see we're using our cash reserves at a much greater rate, but that's particularly because when faced with, we're gonna revert to FY19 funding levels for the schools, I mean, that takes some kind of like drastic economics to try to make that work.
That was the school's contribution portion, or your total is going, yeah, because,
That
FY19.
17%?
No,
Or the FY19,
FY19.
local contribution,
Right.
thank you, Linda, yeah, reverting, local
Right.
contribution is going
Right.
back to that, correct. So it is, that is the problem we talk about all the time, that it's long-term unsustainable, right?
Okay, thank you.
But all really good questions, and I appreciate the facts, I think really what it boils down to is, in some cases, I think some of you are familiar with the school department, in the presentations and the budgets, but asking on behalf of the citizen and the taxpayer who's like, wait, hold the phone. Looks like they got a lot of money sitting over there. What are they doing? Having parties? So I appreciate that, you know, having that conversation so that people can hear. And of course, these documents, I'm happy to share with anybody, although I did say, I should probably let the school committee see them at some point. So that would be helpful. Yeah, I did get permission from the chair to share with you first. Is that everything?
Think so.
All right, I'm gonna go home and have grilled cheese, friends.
Yeah.
I live closer to Dreamland.
Well, thank you so much for
Great
that.
job.
Thank
Great
you,
presentation.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great
Look at
results.
this. Yeah,
That was
thank you
fabulous.
so much. Yeah. Here you go.
That's great,
Because
yeah.
I know I dropped the ball when it came to getting a hold of you when it comes to the capital project that you have, especially when it comes to the air conditioning, I think you said it was carrier.
All right, you ready to follow in those
Get
footsteps?
a hold of
Nobody
you.
nobody wants to follow that.
Do you have pretty pictures?
We're gonna take a break.
That's
what I literally just whispered there. I don't have any pictures.
I think you had sent me an email.
Yeah,
That thing
pretty
is
graphs,
so
colors.
old.
Yeah.
Keep us awake
For
here.
us to
Show you
drop, that
pictures
was
of my
my fault
cats.
dropping the ball.
Okay.
You know what I really
So it's probably a good thing the fire and police couldn't come tonight. Because this has been an hour and a half, and I think that you like to keep it at 2 hours. So I intentionally put a lot on for tonight because I knew they had very little notice as of Friday to
Sure.
tonight as to whether they could come. So it worked out well that the schools were able to make it. That's a great relief. Police and fire are going to be put off to the 25th.
Oh, okay, let me,
Yeah, and, yes, as I told Amy, I would send something out.
yeah.
And inspections as well. That might end up, as we get closer, that might end
Dispatch
up
too,
being
I'm
a
guessing,
little-
right?
Yes, it'll go with police.
Yeah, it might end up being a little tight that night, but we do have the backup on the 30th. Or I'll see if there's anyone who wants to come forward, if they can't make their night, if they wanna come forward and join DPW. So, for tonight, well, the ones, I put in here, treasurer, debt, and benefits and insurance, cause I'm always here. So
Yeah.
that's a very easy one to put off to another one, so another night. Also, finance committee and the reserve account. So we
Yeah.
can do that any
Yeah.
time. So I think what's most important tonight is because Jennifer has come here on behalf of the select board and administrator budget, as we get through the budgets that are part of the 100s Part 1, that would be the select board's own budget, the accountant, HR, legal, and buildings. Those would be the expenses for, not maintenance one, but the utilities and other expenses of buildings that are run by the select board department. So if we go through that first, and we see whether you wanna put off the other ones till another time, or whether you wanna keep on.
So far, it sounds like putting them off sounds good.
I am sorry, Linda, that is all my fault, but that's how.
I was very informative.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
fabulous.
That's just saying it,
The
Paul.
largest department.
That's not what I was saying, Annie. I'm so glad
Okay,
that,
just
I'm so glad that was
And
really
my
helpful.
older brother would say, I could talk a starving dog off a meat truck. Like, get me out of here.
No, that was really helpful. It was a good kickoff, I think,
Yeah.
to the situations others
Very
find themselves in, and I think it's particularly marked in the school budget, so I think it's a great place to start at what the impact is this year. So, Jennifer, if you handle the select board ones, we did talk a lot, let's see, that would be
Page 24.
we did spend some
Thank you.
time on that last
I
time.
was just looking.
So we will just move on through, is there more you wanna say on the
Well,
select board?
I mean, I can just let y'all know that there's just been some small increases that are contractually obligated. Board docs, the website is going through a redesign and providing, there's a disability reader now that's gonna be installed on it. It's something that's gonna come from the state soon as a requirement. We were able to go ahead and purchase it early, which means that we're getting it included for a couple of years. But we had to renew, the website to do it, which we were due. The complaints seemed to be coming pretty hard and fast on the website. People didn't like how long it took to search, so we're just making some changes, but that's reflected there. It's just a $3,000 increase. That also has a program in it that the building inspector and the Board of Health use called Permit Link, It is a program that we'll be using in the select board's office to help with licensing. That's gonna be one of the ways that we can help offset that admin salary that we had mentioned. By bringing that in, hopefully, we'll see a decrease in need for hours of an employee and be able to do it more efficiently with a program. And then I'm also meeting with someone this week about a program called MuniTrack. I don't know if they'll be the solution. I'm concerned about the cost of it, but it is a minutes program, and that might be another way that we can save some funds. As of right now, we have it zeroed out for the $22,000 for the salaries there. That is, unfortunately, if this is how it goes, that is Peter, so that is select board minutes, that is finance committee minutes. So that's something to just have in mind there. However, maybe this program will work out and we can find a way to make it work. Yes.
I got a question, especially since we're looking at this, the select board, and it's the 122.5120.
Yes.
So when when you look at the services, when it says the FY27 level services, you see $15,000, and then you see over to the right, it says, is that the town administrator?
The 30,000?
Yes, so when it comes to, just so I can understand
Right.
this, when I'm seeing that number on the left and I'm going, okay, why is it that much more on the right as to a decision being made by, is that the select board / town administrator that has that type of an increase? Who's making
No.
that decision?
It's not an increase. What it is sometimes throughout the year, if we have a department head leave or come back in, we need a different rate of salary. It doesn't exist in their budget. This allows it to be there, and we can hire at that rate that we need to. Whether it is, can I pick on you?
Sure, go ahead. Sure, go ahead.
Let's pick on nobody. We'll pick on no one. The ferry collector here in town is leaving us. We have to hire somebody new. It's going to be a higher rate of pay. That's what that is, because then we don't have to. We can hire them and we get the employee that we need to do a business for the town. That's what that is.
So,
And
So they'd be used
I
for,
need
and
to say-
additionally,
Yeah, I need to say that you're looking at the 15 and the 30, but you have to look at 5120 covers two different areas, so the actual initial amount is not 15, those two together were 37, and we brought it down to 30.
but when I see that, I'm just thinking, is that something where we're giving double the salary for
No.
that? Because when you're looking at that, I'm thinking, okay, are they getting that much more of a raise, or so when it says town admin, is that the, I guess, is that the
that
town
is the town
administrator?
administrator.
Okay, so that,
Yes, I'm sorry. That is the town administrator's salary, and then admin support is. It used to be the licensing and procurement, which was my position, but now since I've been moved to ATA, that becomes a completely administrative person at a much lower rate of pay. So that's what that is.
I think he's talking more the different columns. One says
Says 5120.
5027 level services, and then it says fiscal year 2020 town administrator. So this is what you guys, this is where you started, but the next one over is where you think we should be. Right?
because when somebody
What's
leaves,
recommended.
they leave
Right.
at that salary. Say someone leaves at a salary of, say, 80 grand.
Sure.
So automatically, I've seen it that you might raise it up 10%, that it's 8,800 or 88,000.
Mm-hmm.
So why not start it at that 80,000 instead of because we don't know the qualifications, we don't know how good that person is. So we're already giving them right? I mean, we don't know how well that person is, but we're giving them a pay raise.
So right now, we have not brought anybody in at a lower, correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, but I don't believe we've brought anybody in at a lower rate of pay than the person they're replacing.
No.
It is so hard
Never.
to replace and find employees right now. It's critical, and it's not just here, it's Northampton, it's Amherst. Everybody is looking for municipal employees. Nobody, I'm even thinking about other towns I know that have just hired people, they're bringing their new people in at higher rates of pay.
So if you've got somebody that's been here 15 years and they've been getting substantial increases through 15 years, you're going to bring somebody in day one at the same rate as somebody that's
We-
been
oh,
here
more.
15
We
years?
would,
Or
we
more.
would like, we would like not to, but we have not been able to do that. We'll do the rate of pay within the grade, whatever that is, steps 1 through 10, and we bring them in, and we want them, we would love them all to be step 1, but that's not realistic. That some people come in with all of the experience where they rate into the step 10, and that's where they go because that's where their qualifications are. And that does cost more money, but that's also a really great experience that we're bringing to the
Exactly.
town.
The lesson should be value and keep the employees you have.
All
There
day
you
long.
go.
Yeah.
Give them that
All
little
right.
bit of extra.
All, and yeah, there's something to be said for that it's cheaper to keep an employee than it is to hire a new one. So if you're gonna have to take in all the advertising and everything all over again, keep who you have, invest in them.
So my question, you're looking at that extra money just in case you're gonna need it, but let's use the fire for example. It came up and it was unexpected, we decided, okay, we're gonna do a deputy, but there's not enough, we don't have enough in the funding, so we just said, okay, to get you through this year, we'll take it from the finance reserve. Now, I know we decreased the finance reserve, so why couldn't we just move that to the finance reserve and keep that up higher? And if there was another emergency, such as similar to the deputy, take it out of that.
I think we have to, there's so much up in the air in this budget, I think you have to wait, and I think that many of these things will be answered over the next few weeks, quite honestly.
Okay.
So let's see what actually happens with actual hires, and see if there is something there. And the second thing I wanna say is, it has been used, it's not just a select board amount, so it
Oh
also.
yeah, it's not just for select
Yeah.
board, it's for COA or
Yeah,
treasurer or.
so, I mean, this amount here is to cover if that same situation should happen in another department, as opposed to this one where someone leaves or they're hired at a higher rate later on, that this could be moved over there.
I'm sorry, I
Good
thought
to
that was
hear that,
clear. I'm
because-
sorry
Yeah.
if that was not clear as I was saying that. That was-
It's good to hear that, because I thought.
Oh,
No, I'm
I thought
so
it
sorry that I was
all
not clear about
earmarked
that.
for the
I
one
think-
department.
In my mind, I was thinking, oh, that's the one where we put everybody's raises, that's just
Yeah.
what that was, so.
And we
was-
did that for 26.
Yes, and so I
because
thought
you
we
look at
already had it
26,
in mind
was
that
there.
that was like an account that goes out to everybody.
That's why we
That's
have
what
two
that is.
lines for 5120 actually, because one was, the top line was sort of for select board, and the others were like, well, select board and others, and we'll see what goes on, but there was more of a reason for having it in 26, and we have much less of a call for it in 27, so that was reduced quite a bit from the prior year.
But I made note of that, Amy. As we know more, we can definitely look at that.
What is that town hall longevity? What is that $3,900?
That
Oh,
is for employees who have been here for over 10 years. They get longevity payments now. A lot of departments don't have that in their budgets. We factored in everybody who's gonna receive longevity this year in town hall. Is it 7, 8?
10 years or more.
No, I mean people. Is it 7 or 8?
Well, divided by, yeah, there are, because there's different amounts if they're here for
Different- you-
15 years. So this is
10-year,
an,
15,
that's
20
an
year. It's in
exact,
a municipal union, and we went through all the people that are going to receive it this year and tacked it into that budget. You'll see the library when you get to them; they also have it for their employees that would have it.
Is
so,
that kind of like
How
that
does it
incentive,
work?
is that like that
bonus?
incentive bonus to keeping them there
It
after the
is-
10 year, like a 10 year, like at
It
a
is,
school?
I mean, I guess you could look at it that way, but it's written into the municipal union's contract, which I believe the DPW has it as well. I believe police and maybe fire has it. It's a longevity payment that is written into
it's
the
a
contract.
negotiated
What's a
amount.
typical arrangement?
I
Well,
think
for
they're
the-
up to like $900 for 10 years, and then it just sort of increases.
And it goes up like half again for, I can't remember because it just changed.
Yeah, it just,
So
their
it was,
contract just changed.
it was 450 and, or 750 and 400, I think it was, but it went up for this year, and I can't remember, but we did sit down and calculate that. And then rather than put a longevity one in every, this covers all of town hall, and the reason, rather than putting these amounts as a longevity line in all of the town hall budgets, when we're hearing people say, and they're not committed to it, I'm leaving, I'm looking for another job, I'm going to be retiring, we would have this longevity payment sitting in let's say it was my budget, it was sitting in the treasurer's budget, and I'm entitled, I get longevity, because I'm a 10-year employee. But if I decide I'm gonna leave this summer, that longevity pay would be sitting in my budget and not used for other things. So we're trying to be very conscious of where we're parking money, but then we can't access it, and we are such a funding crunch that we would like to get that back. So we have kind of used the select board budget as the place where those things would be
A
collected.
slush fund.
So
Yeah.
you mentioned you would be
Nope.
getting
It's
it.
not
Don't
slush,
say
but it's
kitty.
available.
Yeah.
It's
Now, you're not
available.
part of the
And well,
union.
Peter gave us the idea in the
No,
first
but the-
place, so
Do we
we've
do
been
it for
funding it
non-union
ever since.
employees? And so if we do it for, so the non-union employees, but are each of the unions different
Yes.
in pays? So,
Are they?
Yes,
The amount?
yes, but the municipal union,
Oh, yeah, the municipal.
anybody who's in town hall, any administrative employee who's not, administrator's not where, any employee who's not covered by another union, like collector, treasurer, myself, they all follow the municipal union. Jessica Specknable, like everybody follows that union because they're no longer have contracts. There's no, we've done away with contracts throughout the town
Right.
except for, I think there's 4 of them. So those people have no way to negotiate. They have no way to bargain as a group. So that's just sort of what the town's practice is.
But that's union and non-union. I can see just flipping through that 2 of them belong to treasurer's office, 2 belong to collector, 1 to town clerk's office, and I don't know if there's others.
I'm just curious, why
one
don't
to
we
the
put
select
them in
board.
salaries?
Because it goes when their anniversaries are. And it's just one more thing to keep track of.
I just,
That,
Because they don't.
and they have only been happening for a few years now. This is relatively
That's right,
new
it
for
is
the town.
fairly new.
Because it only came in play with for the municipal union employees. It just started. They're not a very old union. The DPW has had it. I don't actually know, do they have a longevity?
I never
line?
remember-
And union, oh, DPW?
Yeah, no, I mean, do they have a budget line for it?
I think they might have
think
been
they
in
do.
salaries, or at least police
I think they
in
do.
salaries,
Right.
because I've never
no,
seen it
police-
before.
Police, I actually asked Mike about that. He said it is in their salaries and then they have a separate, like, internal that they keep track of that way. But we are so spread out with the 100s that this is what we just did for this year. Because we noticed that people didn't have it in their budgets.
We forgot.
And so this was like, oh, wait, because money is so tight, we wanted to make sure that we had all the numbers correct. So
Yep.
we gathered them and put them together, and then we'll distribute as appropriate.
Yeah, highway has a separate line for it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so that is the 122s. Do y'all have any other questions?
So, accountant? Is on page 25. We have the accountant. I think we pretty much went over this one, or that's actually,
I do want to say one thing, because I did watch the meeting. That 37204, that 5314, that is a direct transfer over from the HR.
Yep.
And then
we covered
the
that.
30K up top here for payroll services, we are contracting out with our town accountant for that. However, we do not, she is doing hourly right now while we see how much it's going to take going into the future. This is what a company, if we outsourced it all, that was what the payroll portion alone was for a company. So that's how we came up with that placeholder
30.
number,
So that could go down.
like this. We're hopeful. Right now, we've been meeting with Lori, our town accountant, and she's already seeing ways that perhaps she could streamline payroll to make it go a little smoother and quicker. And I'm hopeful that within the next 5 to 6 months, we're going to see a very different situation where it's moving so much
Jennifer, are you
faster.
talking about bringing it in-house, you mean, or?
Well, we
keeping it-
contract out for accounting
Ah.
services, and
Right,
now our accountant is going to do our payroll. She's a contractor.
and so you wouldn't need the outside services
No,
Oh, no, we
this
do
is
it.
different. That is the company that we use that does the payroll.
processing.
It's the tracking and the processing.
This has been done by HR. Remember, when that's part of, we're not
It's-
continuing the HR department.
Right.
So instead of having a person in HR do the, hired at a salary of at least a half position, and I think a lot of it was a full position before that, rather than hire another employee, we are now contracting it out to our contracted accountant.
accountant to enter it in the payroll
To,
system.
yes,
Oh,
just as the prior employee
okay.
had done.
That's
Right.
still Harper's, I take it?
It is
Yes,
still
still Harper's.
Harper's.
Okay,
We have other options going forward, but we can only make so many changes at once,
Right,
quite honestly.
right.
We're quite, juggling a lot of things now with the new, with the changeover and the payroll
I also
changes.
did help Lauren when she started here do a RFP process, and Harper's was the best value for the town.
Now
That
I,
was something else that I had heard, and that had been done, and so they are
That's
the
the
best.
37,000, right?
Yes.
and that's probably a good, probably the cheapest. But
Yes.
the problem is sometimes with the cheapest, it probably might have the most, where it needs, the most data entry or the most something where, something a little bit more expensive.
More
might-
upgrades.
Well, a little more upgrades might take down the 30
This
a
is a
little
new,
bit
this
more.
is an upgrade within
This is
Harper's
a
from the prior year.
Giant
in
upgrade.
Harper's, they have like a niche market in municipal.
Yeah.
They're the best at
Quite a
municipal,
product,
and it's actually a really great product.
I hear
And
that.
they interface really well with a bunch of the other companies that we work with. And they have modules that interact with the police payroll. And Mike McNable told me the other day it interacts with the fire payroll. So we'll hopefully be having them flipped in and have their payroll processed the same way too. So
For no more increase.
for no more increase. So this is something that is, I think, an incredibly good product and a very good value for the town. The other companies, they were much more expensive, and
I just know when I,
didn't
and maybe it's changed, but when I
Right.
was talking to some of the other employees, they talked about adding things up on the calculator. I've heard some people,
No, this is an upgrade.
I've heard of some
So
people
we go
using
back to,
spreadsheets and having to do things from a
not anymore.
spreadsheet.
No
this
more.
is
No
the
more.
new.
So
This is the new and improved.
If you look in the HR in 28, you see that the 25 actual was, for payroll services was just under 15,000.
Okay.
We put it up to 27,204 to make the transition in FY 26. Incorporating in, still using Harper's, but instead of the manual sheets and entering it, it
Right.
is, we have the time and attendance is the name of the module, so that employees, I go in and enter mine and my assistant enters hers and I approve it and then it's approved
That's what I
at
was
another
gonna ask
level.
you, is
Yes.
at the end of your 40-hour day, at the end of your 40-hour week, do you, say you work your 8 hours, do you sign into a computer of the hours that you've done?
We do now,
And you,
Mhm.
okay, we do now.
we do now.
We do
did-
now.
We did
It
not a
used to
year
It was
ago.
always on paper, you handed it in to somebody.
We
Literally.
they-
did,
and then they would all get handed to me, and then I would hand them to the town administrator.
and there'd be a
They would
stack of
sign
paper.
them
So
all.
that person has their own password, they get into this and they sign in and they put
Like
their
I have
hours
ADP
in.
every
and-
morning, I punch
That's
in,
it.
Yeah, that's what
punch
I
out
did.
for lunch,
Yeah.
punch back in, punch back out
That's
for the
it
day.
exactly. And
Okay.
the
We all
hours
have
are
someone
set.
over
I was
us who
wondering how
approves it.
the, the billing or the hours process went at the end of your day or at the end of your week, how the process went.
That's it.
in
You
the
go
office.
in and just enter it. We do a 2-week cycle.
I like when you start out the
DPW
40
has
hours.
an electronic, and this is another
We'll
thing.
get a slip.
Literally, the DPW before this product came, the DPW was using an actual clock, click, click. Actually clock it in for a day's work. Now they have to sign in digitally, but same thing. And it makes it much quicker. And there's still kinks. Everybody's still learning the system a little bit. Right. I mean, but you know what? Lori's already seen places to make improvements. I've seen a few places. Linda's seen a few places. So I think that we're just going to get stronger and quicker. And hopefully that translates to a little bit more time to focus our energies other places.
Does it calculate all the time off and calculate that kind of
Yep,
stuff?
you can choose when you're taking time off. So if I want to take a half of a personal day, I put that in, and there's a drop down menu, and I can choose a personal day or a comp time or a vacation or my floating holiday. All of those options
all
are
in
there, and then you can put notes in there that says, I had to take a day off because I had jury duty or whatever.
Yep.
And so it's all there, and then it also makes tracking it afterwards really easy for
Yeah,
us.
I can run reports on mine with all my
I just-
employees, yep.
I've just started discovering what I can do.
Play around, it's fun.
I've
It's a lot of
learned.
information.
Yeah, no, it's actually been really great as I've gotten in there and working on things, be able to see the reports that you can do. I'm hopeful that with a little bit of time, we'll be able to see some changes.
And this 30,000, that got swapped over from HR, correct?
The 37, yeah.
Or the
Yeah,
37?
37 is just direct move over. The 30,000 is for payroll. But like I said, I'm hoping that once she gets in there and sees, she's gonna be like, well, if we do this, this, and this, and automate these parts right here, I only need this much time, and we'll see a cost
And
savings.
the person with the 30 was also in HR,
Yes.
doing it too?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
2 items came over then.
Yes. 2 items that were budgeted for completely came over.
So if you, again, if you go to HR and you look at FY 25 actual, you can take one of those assistants. 28, you're right, 28. So, the payroll benefits coordinator, 70, payroll services, almost 15, so that was 85. And the next year, 54, but, you know, there we are. And now we come back over to the 37 and the 30, we're spending 67, which is almost 20,000 less, and no benefits. No payroll, no employees.
And no desk, no computers, no phones, no IT support.
No supplies.
No
No
vacation,
no
no
sick
sick
days.
time.
No sick days.
And no pushback.
Everything.
Well, we're still probably pushing. There's probably gonna still be pushing. But no, but
No
they're
personal touch either, I might add, there was
so yeah,
there was a benefit to that, but.
I'm here. Okay.
So the bottom line is it saved about $20,000
Hopefully we're gonna see a little bit more than that, but
and more,
yes.
yeah.
The finger, you know, like I said, fingers crossed. And we wanna give Lori time to see what she needs.
Good.
Okay, so,
So
that's
accountant.
HR, and, oh, that was accountant, and then HR is.
And HR, yeah, pretty much, 'cause we.
Legal, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just guiding you.
Okay, legal, so we'll look at legal real quick,
What page?
right above,
28.
HR on page 28, top of the page.
Okay.
So we kept the town council services, at 48,000. That is contracted, it's $4,000 a month. The difference where we run into is how we've been paying is labor has been paid out of town council services and not out of litigation, and it goes back to the organization of charts. But, we're still coming in within budget. This year, it looks like we'll be the same. They did a $48,000 or $4,000 per month retainer, if you will, a monthly retainer, and then we did $15,000 for litigation. As of right now, that feels very comfortable to say that I think we're going to be okay and not go over on litigation. And we probably will have some left over. I'm feeling very good. There's not a whole lot going on there right now. We did increase the legal notices because we took on the HR, and I pay all of the select board's legal advertisements out of this budget line. So liquor licenses and everything come out of this because I have to advertise them in the newspaper. So we went ahead and put HR and Board of Health. We zeroed out the Board of Health legal advertisements. They don't do a whole lot, and HR will I'll only be advertising jobs if we're hiring people. So we thought that we could safely move them over here, and hopefully we'll all be able to cover all of them. Some years I go over in that, and some years I don't. If there's a whole lot of changes to liquor licenses, or I have to advertise a lot of public hearings for the select board, then I will go over. But some years I stay well underneath. Last year was just a big year.
How about the planning board?
Planning board's gonna maintain their own with conservation and ZBA. They advertise more than I do. I would say, actually, it's got a couple of her invoices. I think she has to advertise for conservation hearings and planning board public hearings. I would say, if not monthly, I'm pretty sure monthly, right? Almost monthly, she's advertising.
Is
And
this
those
like
are-
a revolving account too?
No,
They're not?
no.
Okay.
Okay.
No. Okay, so that is that. We got rid of illegal subscriptions a long time ago. And then the next would be the 190s, which is on page 31. I will give y'all pictures next year, I promise. Houses and light bulbs, air conditioners.
Pictures are good.
Pictures are good.
Pictures and graphs.
Yes. So looking at this electricity, it's It's gonna keep going up. I really fought on this one. They brought me down, but I wanted the 140 because the interest rate, it's not even the electricity rates, it's the delivery charges are what are killing. And I mean, it's just like at your home out in there. My bills that we're getting in are, $4,000, $2,000 is electricity and $2,000 of it is delivery charge. I mean, it's 50-50, if not a little bit more on the delivery charges. So again, highway or the heating and oil, again, there's increases there. The delivery charges are killer. Water sewer is gonna be actually over this year. We had a leak in one of our buildings, and we keep that budget so tight that that is gonna throw my water sewer budget off.
When it comes to the electricity, when you're talking about the buildings, which ones are we talking about? We
Town
talking,
Hall,
okay,
COA, Library, Goodwin, Public Safety, and the North Hadley Fire Substation.
Goodwin, you were going so fast.
I'm sorry.
COA, Library, Goodwin, what was that to the Goodwin?
Public Safety,
Okay,
and then the sub-fire station in North Hadley.
Wouldn't we see a little bit of a decrease considering the COA has now solar?
We may, but everybody else's are going up, so I don't know what real savings we're going to see. I think that their savings will just sort of be eaten up by everybody else's
be a wash.
increases. One could hope, but I haven't seen a giant savings yet. I think they went online in October, and so we've only had a few bills in the middle of heating season. So I think that we'll see a real difference come summertime.
Yeah, because winter you've got no sun, because I have solar, and you
Yeah.
get no, it's nothing. There's with all this crap going on. Yeah, there's no sun at all.
Again,
Snow covers
hope-
it.
Yeah.
Hope
Well,
that-
even if it's a cloudy day, you get nothing, but you get, 12 hours of sunlight in the summer. You bank it all in the summer, and then you use that bank all winter.
And
And,
they
we have
have-
no bank to start with.
they have not been
So-
able to bank. That's right. That being said, today was a sunny day, so
Yep.
hoping tomorrow's supposed to be sunny. It's only going to get better. The sun was still out when we were meeting, so this summer I hope to see a big difference.
Yeah, they
but for
told
right
us it
now,
would be at least a year before you saw the cycle and the improvement on it. So next year
that's-
should be better.
That is, we do participate in the community electrical aggregation program that the rest of the town residents participate in, and we also participate in a pilot program as well to help with cost savings. Keep going here. Equipment maintenance is one of those postage machine breaks, whatever that is, little small things like that in town that break down. Copier leases, we raised this because the postage machine contract has run out, so we're going to have to get a new postage machine. We lease it, we don't buy it, so there is that. And so it's not a giant outlay, but based off of the quotes that I've received, they've gone up. And the same thing, the copier downstairs, I'm hoping that I can squeeze one more year out of it. That contract expired 3 years ago, and I've been doing year to year because the machine is working pretty well. I'm hoping to carry it at least one more year to get us through. IT is going up. It's a contract increase of roughly about 3%. And then telephone internet, I cover the telephone for the COA, the library, and town hall, as well as the fire substation. So those are all of the phone lines that are covered in there, plus the internet for the buildings that are not on fiber optic within the town, and a couple of different cable subscriptions.
police and fire don't pay for the North Hadley Hall?
I
North
pay
Hadley?
I pay for very specifically. I pay for the hand sets. That's what I pay for. They pay for other
Old
parts
school.
of it. Yes.
Old school
Extension 505.
I
I
didn't
think
even
is
know
what
what
it
you
is.
meant by handset. I was
Yes. Is that not the right word for it? Handsets. Yeah.
Two-way radios.
No, I don't pay for those.
No,
Mike pays for
that's
those.
on the-
Pagers.
The dial-in.
Yeah, you know the thing that used to do this and then this, and yeah, that's what I pay for. And then postage. The post office has informed us they will be doing twice yearly increases on postage, January and July forevermore. So we've increased by that because every bill that we send out, the costs don't go down. So that's just an increase that we can't really move around on. And then the equipment and supplies, this was at 28,000. I have purchased a little bit more for year to date, so I know that it happens to be almost half gone at this point. But this was the computers that we did for Town Hall to get on the program of making sure that we were replacing computers in a timely manner to make sure that it kept the efficiency going. And we needed to see a cut, and so we're cutting out 13,000 out of that, and we're not going to replace as many computers next year as we typically do.
We can't do this every year.
We can't do this every year, but this year we can do this. We can make it work. I also purchased the tail supplies out of that. So we started taking people's supply lines and their office supply lines, and we have a room upstairs on the second floor, and you can go up there and there's drawers full of paper clips and staples and all of that, and we've started bringing it all together so that way that there's not, 4 boxes of staples in her room and 4 boxes in mine, so it's all there together. And we actually had a good stash where people, I can only use so many staples, and so we actually had a good little stash. I think that we're gonna not have to go completely crazy this year on buying supplies.
It seems like your actuals are the year-to-date actuals are pretty low.
I am being so careful. I'm being as careful as I can with every dime, because last year was the first year that I went over on the electricity, and I took it as a personal affront, even though there was nothing I could do about it. I know it seems sort of ridiculous, but I was just so upset that a budget line that I had went over like that. So I've been watching very, very carefully, and some things will come in, I won't have a choice, but I'm trying to be mindful, and I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that every dollar means jobs.
I was
Postage was
surprised
a matter of timing.
because this is for all kinds of departments,
Yeah.
this supplies, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking just the ink alone
Oh,
for your
Actually, our ink is actually done through a contracted service with a company. We pay everything for them to rent the machines.
you don't pay for ink?
It's included in the contract, we have the same thing.
It's actually
I'll come to the town hall and
Yeah.
have my paper. For all the stuff, all the minutes Amy sends me.
so no, we don't, and that's
I wonder why Linda could go with all these colors.
Yeah.
She actually made me get her a color copier. She made me. So DPW has a couple. Town Hall, every office has one of different kinds. Some people have ones that are just printers, black and white. Some people have color. Some people have a fax machine. It just depends on what their needs are in their office. So every office in Town Hall, COA has it, library has it, public safety has them.
And that's in your contract, where the contracts, what?
It lives in this budget, this equipment line as well.
So you said fax machines, you have literal fax machines?
So there are a couple of things that still have to be faxed. There's some
Right,
electrical
but you can
account
do
stuff.
we
Part of a
fax through
copier.
So
email.
ours is over VoIP. It's VoIP faxing, but the stuff that we have to do for HR still has to go over a fax line.
The email is not secure
You
enough.
can't. They won't take it another way.
So I use a fax through an application on my computer that's
Yeah.
secure.
Well, let's talk about it next time you're in town hall. Let's chat about it.
Yeah.
The companies that we have to fax to have been very strong about it. But if that
Yeah,
isn't
I do
workable-
medical records.
No. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. If you have a
Yeah,
workable
so-
option that I can present to them, absolutely.
We don't have secure email. Do you have
No, we have to
secure
secure our emails with just a word. You just put secure at the end of our
Right.
emails and it's secure.
I will say that we don't pay anything kind of extra for the VoIP fax.
I'm just,
It-
I think
yeah.
there's electronic
No.
options for that, which is way easier.
I'll
Like it drops into your email, it tells you you got a fax and.
I have no problem with this because, like I said, there's just a few things that are still out there that you still have to fax. But if you want to share that with me, I'd be
Yeah, I will.
I'm more than willing to get into and explore anything that makes it quicker.
Do you know what a
to-
fax is?
I do.
Okay.
Is it because you saw
I
it?
had
underneath?
that. I had that. There's no long beep that goes through it.
Right?
You had it in
Curls up in
history,
the-
history class.
It used to curl.
Yep, used to curl up and drop on the floor, you had to chase it, yep.
What is it called, thermal paper?
Yes,
Yes.
yep. We're aging ourselves. Next.
That is actually it. The 190s are the end of mine. I believe Susan will be taking care of the 193s when she comes
Yep.
to see you as risk manager. So,
Who's gonna do the insurance?
Susan.
It's not the health.
I am for right now working with Linda, and Susan is gonna, had said that she would be able and willing to come into that as well. So I've already had the first IEC meeting, and it looks really, we're not doing that tonight, are we?
No,
Okay, I can come
but
back
you-
for that
but-
too. But it looks like there's going to be a decrease in, the amount that we'll need to 12.48% instead of 16, what was
right,
it,
we did talk about
1609?
that last time.
So, that looks promising, however, we'll have to do some impact bargaining with our unions, because there's gonna be changes to the accounts, so
Yep.
there's gonna be a give and take there. We don't know what that looks like yet.
Well, I thought that the, talking into, having some expertise here, and when you're talking about things like the PPO, and when Andy was talking about that we don't offer it, but maybe that some,
We did.
that some places
Yeah.
did, and maybe that brings it down. I don't know,
It doesn't bring anything down, what do you mean, oh, because the percentage? The reason the percentage is down is that the town was paying the same amount. So whatever, so it actually, it's neutral for the town, which, but it was more work and it was more, a higher percentage for the employee because the
Oh,
total was
There were
higher.
lower deductibles and referrals needed.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that makes you, on your side, have to pay more because you got the deductible.
Yeah.
You paid less because your deductible's higher, but in the long run, you're paying more. But it's the same price for them.
it's for them, okay, I misunderstood, then I thought Annie was saying it's cheaper for, if someone went on a PPO.
No,
I'm
it's
happy
actually
to have
higher.
It's the other
conversations,
way.
Pam, with you
Okay.
about the insurance.
It's the other way.
and, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no reason not to have all the help and information we can get. So if you have some time, this week, next week, you would like to come and sit
I will gladly leave work early to come see you.
every day, Pam. I need
Okay,
you every
sounds
day,
good.
8
Pam.
o'clock, I'm there.
There you go. Okay, I'll make note of that.
Now, did we talk about when it came to the insurance, that every small town or every town's getting hit with all these increases? That, did we bring this to attention, saying, why didn't we, or talk to other towns as a collective on more bargaining to whoever these insurance companies are and say, you gotta lower these rates down, because as an individual, small town, we're nothing to an insurance company. Or if you get a collective of other towns willing to say, hey,
We're
would
in though,
you,
aren't we?
Yeah, that's what
We're in the Hampshire
We're in the
County
collective.
That's it.
Insurance Trust.
that's it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
That's not a-
So I'm gonna make you feel better because it happens that I know somebody who is in the federal employee insurance program for the post office, and his insurance went up quite a bit. Quite a bit.
Paul knows a thing or two also.
I mean, yeah, it's not just us. It's not just small towns. It's
It's
big
everybody.
towns. GIC is going up as well, which is the other alternative that we're going to be exploring. We're still going to continue to explore that. The deadline is missed for this year, and we'll continue to look at it. But even theirs is going up, and they provided some information that showed comparing plans that Hampshire and the GIC are going to be sort of on par, and the GIC might be actually a little bit more expensive. And then you have to factor in, we need to look at what the plans look like out here, what kind of coverage it is out here. That's something else that people, I have not looked at the GIC very closely because
You could be at an insurance plan where all your doctors are in Boston.
that's what I keep thinking every time somebody talks about the GIC. I'm like, did anybody
JC's
look
huge in Boston.
past the 495? Did anybody look out there?
Yes, they have Health New England.
Oh,
Health New England here, because Bay State owns Health
she
New
just
England.
scared me. I
Health New
forgot
England.
you were back there.
I'm sorry, Jeff.
So anyway, that's something else to keep in mind is that it might have costs.
We can't go private, can we?
I don't believe that we can. I think municipal and
Self-insured, and that's.
that's
No, I mean
That's
like Health
rolling
New
the dice.
England has a self-funded and a commercial?
I think that
Yeah,
there was
risk,
talk about that as
risk
cost savings, I think
for
with
school.
municipalities, and I will double check this. I believe
Percentage.
municipalities, there's a
Employee
big
use.
benefit to
Yes.
staying with municipal providers.
Yeah,
But like I
because you got
said,
that conglomerate,
Yep.
you get a better price.
but I'm happy to look into it and double check that.
And it helped out a lot that the group decided not to cover the GLP-1 drugs.
Right.
You know, that.
All the insurances are pulling it, all,
Where
every
I
single
work,
one
they
of them
stopped,
is.
I know GIC stopped too, I heard.
And that,
last
yeah,
week.
nope, that's actually something that they showed us,
Yeah.
in the
I wish they'd done it a year earlier.
At least a year
And-
earlier. And Blue Cross isn't doing
They
it,
saw it
I mean,
coming.
none of them are, they've all
Health
stopped
Trust
it.
should have done it
As of the
too,
first of
but,
the year,
you know.
nobody's covering it
Yep.
unless you're medically necessary for it, like diabetic or something.
Right. So that is all of our budgets, all the select board budgets that I administer, and then I will come back and sit with Linda for the insurance.
Yep.
Um,
That was awesome.
is there anything else that y'all have? Happy to.
Good. Have any
It
other?
might be a little bit, it's not off topic, but when it comes to she was talking about, Annie was talking about the transportation. Since all the tanks were all dug up at the DPW, and I was asking her, and she was believing that all the buses are all diesel. So, all the town employees and I'm sure the, school system, they have their gas cards.
WEX. It's a WEX card, yep.
Now with that, I've
Did you say all the employees? Did you say?
Not
No.
you, Linda.
meaning people
The
that
DPW.
drive, meaning people that have
DPW,
that are
the vehicles
that
that
are
are used by the town.
using town vehicles.
All right, thank
Sorry
you.
about that. That have using town vehicles. That they have, what do you call it?
It's
Rex?
a WEX card, yes.
Okay, now with something like that, I don't have it, which I should be, that they have that, you have that card which goes directly into an account that saves you 10 cents per gallon.
Mhm.
Is that something that it's applied to these cards that these people
Yep,
that are
so
using their vehicles?
We actually went and used the state contract for that. We went through Combis. I think it's vehicle 111 or 185, but it's a gas card program through the state, and so that's the program that we signed up with for the cost savings. And it's just the state's already done the RFP and everything for you, and the work is done, and you can just join in and take advantage of that savings for the town.
So do we know there is a significant amount of savings from that to,
Last time that we did the search on the Combis for it, which were still in the contract, it was a cost savings. It is not something that we've looked at recently. We switched over, I think, about 3 years ago, which is about what contracts run, and I'll probably be looking again in the fall. I don't particularly want to look at anything with gas right now, as gas is supposed to be going up to over $4 a gallon. So I don't think this is the moment to jump. But yes, when we did the RFP, or we did the Combis instead of doing an RFP, there was cost savings to be had.
So remember, all of those expenses are in the DPW budget, and we will be doing DPW next time. People used to have those in their individual budgets, but then they'd have to, multiple department heads trying to decide how much, what to increase it for next year. So we just have a single line item in the DPW budget. We get the WEX, we get the invoice, we pay it, charge it to DPW. They have a record of how much it is for the other department, but they don't charge back to it. So it's all.
but not just
paid out of it.
DPW, saying,
It's
the school system, police fire.
Yep.
The town car, the
Inspections.
building inspections uses, all of those.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it goes back to just like the electricity, we used to have the COA director and the library director worrying about electricity. Now the electricity comes to my office and I take care of it, and they get to be a library director and a COA director. And that's what
Yeah.
you hired them for, that expertise. So.
See, that's why we should have a Costco, because they're at least 30 cents lower than
If
when you
we
go to
could get a Costco in town, I
and
mean,
We'll
use the
consider
Costco card with saving 30 cents a gallon. Just
there's a lot of BJ's around here. There's only one Costco. I mean, I'm willing to make a very strong push to get a Costco in Hadley.
hey, talk to the planning board or whoever, the zoning board,
Well,
when it
Linda
comes
has
to
a poll.
increasing
I will-
the
They
increasing
haven't been
the
turned down.
increasing
she
the square
likes-
footage.
She likes BJ's. Okay, I'm
What's
just like,
closer?
Increasing.
if we got
They've got
Costco
gas
in town-
tanks too.
Um, Sorry, I feel like I'm taking y'all down the primrose path, but I'm in full support of bringing it to Costco. Let's work on it.
Oh, no.
All right.
Do I have, unless anybody else have any questions?
Do you ever have time for citizen comments?
Well, if you'd like to make a comment, you can make a comment.
I have more than one.
Uh,
That will take about 12 minutes.
okay. Is anybody, I did not post any comments, I don't know if that's.
You can allow people to speak if you'd like. It's your pleasure.
Well, I let someone else speak, I mean, it's not like we're,
It's on topic.
what's that?
Is it on topic?
Is it-
Well,
is
the,
it-
within the
It
agenda?
is
Oh, it doesn't matter?
it is certainly finance committee, it is all
Oh,
finance
okay.
committee. It
Sure.
is not specific to schools or or town hall government.
If you wanna make your comment, go ahead.
I'm here to point out a few operational issues you may wish to address and to suggest items you might consider as the FY '27 budget cycle continues. I will preface my remarks noting that recently appointed members fall outside the sphere of those elements that are critical, although I hope some of my suggestions regarding future actions will resonate with all of you. But for the ambush perpetrated by the Finance Committee at the September 9th special town meeting, I would never have paid any attention to you. It was only when the audience requested and the moderator offered the Finance Committee an opportunity to speak that I found myself dismayed by what followed. Like many others, I understood "hear from the Finance Committee" to mean that the audience would be given a synopsis of the Finance Committee's position collectively. Instead, the chair rose and began speaking at the podium. The moderator's introduction notwithstanding, the chair was still obliged to say her name and identify herself as the committee's chair. And more importantly, to state in what capacity she was speaking. She did none of these things. Let me point out that it is incumbent upon chairs of any town committee to indicate whether they are speaking on behalf of the committee or as an individual whenever they talk publicly on matters within the purview of their committee. Similarly, committee members are never permitted to speak on behalf of a committee on which they serve, unless specifically authorized to do so. The chair's remarks that evening were noteworthy for the number of inaccurate statements that were made, some of which, I apologize, I should have said, I am Lynn Latham, I live on Highland Circle. I should have started that way. Some of which were subsequently corrected by Mr. Benjamin. I would like, however, to address one in particular. Quote, "We should have the money before we spend it," end quote. There should be no need to point out to anyone who has agreed to serve on this committee, much less done so for a decade, that a municipality's financial operations are not like and cannot be managed as you might your personal or business finances. For guidance, I will refer you to your own webpage, where there is a link to the Massachusetts Department of Revenue's Division of Local Services 2016 document called "A Guide to Financial Management for Town Officials." If you haven't read it, I encourage you to do so. If you have, perhaps it is worth revisiting. You might also consider obtaining a copy of the October 2025 edition of the Finance Committee Handbook, prepared and published by the Association of Town Finance Committees. The handbook is free to AFTC members and $45 for non-members. If you are not a member and do not wish to spend $45, the 2021 version is posted on the Falmouth and Monterey town websites. There are several additional items on the Finance Committee's webpage you might want to review or consider. At least this was correct as of Friday. The committee's webpage does not accurately represent its membership. The committee's webpage does not include its agendas and minutes or links to them, nor are these documents anywhere else on the town's website that I can find. This should be remedied. At the committee's November 17th meeting, a substantial amount of time was spent discussing the addition of members' contact information. The desire to be accessible is laudable. It might be best, however, if you requested a town-based email account for the committee and used that as the means by which the public can reach you. Designate one of your members to check the account regularly and be sure to acknowledge and respond to all legitimate messages. If you do not want to use a town email address for this purpose, and if you choose to use a personal or professional email address for contact with the public, or as the means by which committee members receive and share information, you need to be aware of the potential consequences this poses. I want to direct your attention to the advisory notice that appears at the bottom of messages you receive from town employees. The wording varies slightly with each sender, but they all alert the recipient to the fact that the Massachusetts Attorney General has determined that email is a public record. While the likelihood of a complaint being filed related to your role as a finance committee member is minimal, you need to be aware that using a personal address for the conduct of public business exposes the account in its entirety to review should a complaint be filed or any action be taken that would require you to provide access to all correspondence related to such a matter. Minutes. At your December 1st meeting, 2 significant mistakes were made in handling the approval of minutes. Minutes from September 9th were moved and seconded. They were characterized as a record of your votes on the proposed overrides taken just before the special town meeting began. 4 members voted in favor. Ms. Haig did not initially vote and sought clarification, asking, quote, "I don't vote on those because I wasn't here," end quote. The chair responded by saying, quote, "You can still vote on them, you can see them," end quote. Ms. Haig subsequently voted in favor of the minutes. Minutes of a meeting are the official record of its proceedings. While a committee member who does not attend a meeting is permitted to vote on its minutes, it is beyond my ability to understand how an individual who was not at that meeting, who was not able to view a recording of the meeting because there was none, and most importantly, who was not a committee member at the time, can reasonably be expected to attest to the accuracy of the minutes. I believe Ms. Haig was correct in attempting to abstain from the vote, and the chair was wrong in encouraging her to do so. Immediately thereafter, a motion was made by Mr. Matuszko and seconded by Mr. Klepacki to approve the minutes of meetings held on October 1st, 14th, 15th, and November 17th. The latter subsequently offered a correction to the minutes, as did Mr. McCretchky. No vote was taken, and the chair simply continued on saying, quote, "So next is conflict of interest. I am confident that the town clerk is satisfied that each of you has completed the Ethics Commission's online conflict of interest training that all public employees must complete every 2 years. And I want to be perfectly clear that I have no reason to believe that any actions have been taken or any decisions have been made that would violate the conflict of interest law. Nevertheless, I am surprised that in the course of a decade, it has never occurred to the chair that a reasonable person might perceive that a conflict of interest could exist based on her employment at Bank ESB and the fact that the town has had a substantial sum on deposit there.
Okay, I think that we are all set. Thank you very much for your comments. But we will be good.
It's not posted for public comment.
But I
The chair
think,
can allow someone to speak, and the chair can also ask for the person to stop speaking.
I think that when we start to get into details of what is some of these things that is,
I will just mention that FY25 report 19.2% of town funds in investment or in financial institutions were in
I-
7 accounts at Bank ESB.
I don't know, that's not my part. That's not what.
I am not accusing you
So,
of anything.
I
am
we're all
saying
set. Thank you very
that
much
you
for your comments.
might file a conflict of interest
We are-
disclosure with the town clerk.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to,
I move to adjourn.
okay,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, you wanna stay?
You can.